ways before you cross me, baby, 'cause I don't break for boys.
autobahncc.com or email Ben Hasbrook at autobahncc.com for more information on how you can get involved with the Autobahn Driver Academy.
And speaking of our online features, do you follow the Autobahn Country Club on social media? Please like, follow, and share our content on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube to help us grow the Autobahn community. Well, the field is growing double file here as they're making their way down the backstretch here. Again, it's been a cloudy day. The sun's trying to come out just a little bit here. Hasn't rained so far. It rained earlier this morning. It's created some interesting track conditions, but so far hasn't really downpoured yet. As the field's going to go double file here, a pace car will pull off, and our second heat race for the SM2 class will be getting underway. It's Chris DiMuzio and Joe Miklos who make up row 1 in this field, and the rest of the championship contenders starting way back in row 3. Green flag going to come out in the air. We are racing here, and already cars going off in the grass. Emmett Ryan at 81 spins and gets it by the number 119 of Connor Ryan. Emmett Ryan, who went off the grass in a similar way he did on the opening lap, tried to do it again. He got loose, spun out, and got clobbered by the 119 of Connor Ryan, whose day has gone from bad to worse. We stay green for right now, but Jordan, that didn't go so good.
Emmett Ryan, has left rear damage, and he's pulling off to driver's left-hand side right next to the guardrail at the exit of turn 1 there. He is now out of this race with definitely left rear suspension damage. Connor Ryan has front bumper damage as well as they come through turn number 5 and 6. Yellow flags are already flaming. We are under full course yellow.
Well, we saw Emmett Ryan do that on the initial start of the last race. He dipped basically all 4 tires off in the grass, trying to get a lot of cars off guard and go for it. He tried to do it again. This time, it didn't go so well for him as he got clobbered by the 119.
He was 2 tires in the grass in the first race, tried to make it work, and was able to make it work because he had 2 tires on the pavement. However, this time he was all 4 tires in the grass, trying to stay on the throttle, and unfortunately just lost the handle of that number 81 Spec Miata, looped it around right in front of the field. Unfortunately, was catching up to one of his other family members of Connor Ryan. He's got front end damage, like I mentioned, and, the day for Emmett Ryan has gone from bad to worse as he is out on lap 1.
Well, the day for Connor Ryan has gone from worse to horrible. Look at his car here. He's got the whole front bumper of it torn off. Looks like he's got some left front damage and maybe a tire rub there on the left front of that car. He may be very well done in this race as well. It's tough to say, but Emmett Ryan for sure is out of the race with a broken left rear suspension on the car.
Well, Connor Ryan right now is still under his own power, thank goodness. He had a little bit of a power issue in the first race, but is able to keep it going right now. We'll see how long he's able to keep it going, if he's able to stay on the track or if he pulls it in the pit lane. We'll see what happens. He looks like he keeps it on track right now, catching up to the rest of the field. So good to see that he's continuing to keep going. Now we'll just have to see how the performance of that car has been hindered enough to where he's able to stick with the rest of the Packers if he's going to be off the pace.
Well, as Emmett Ryan is getting picked up by the track and safety workers, it's Joe Miklos who has hanged on to the lead here in the 523, and Gavin Gleitzman from row 2 has moved into second. Chris DiMuzio, the pole sitter, has fallen back to third. So Gleitzman with a great start on this race, moving up 1 position. Chris DiMuzio in the 06 already losing 2 spots on the opening turn of the opening lap here. Jordan, as the field has now been shrunk from 12 cars to 10, it looks like, who are able to still remain competitive in today's race.
Yeah, right now, as we've seen here, as to the first lap, I would say, we've now had the field kind of shuffle around a little bit, like you said there, man. We have Joe Miklos as now the race leader. We have Gavin Gleitzman in second, Chris DiMuzio in third, Bob Grosslick fourth, Matteo Azzari fifth, Luke Satterfield sixth, and a little bit further back, Bruce Malter seventh, Gary Traverso eighth, Alan Zocher ninth, Noel Sachs in 10th, Scott Benny Jr. 11th, and then Connor Ryan rounds out the top 12. That's how we reset the order after we got the yellow flag out.
Well, and already an interesting start here. We didn't think it would be this chaotic of a start, but chaos turns into calamity, and calamity turned into 2 cars having wrinkled fenders at the very start of this race. Before even a turn was completed in this race, really, Jordan, following the initial start.
Yeah, as we said, we got a little hectic start there, and that's what I mentioned. With the field being scattered out like this and the field also having an inversion, it all depends on how patient is the rear of the field going to be. Obviously, the rear of the field was able to kind of be a bit patient at the beginning, but everybody else was kind of trying to get on the horn to kind of do that. As we see one of our corner workers right now out on track, trying to get the track sweeping clear. So we see Emmett Ryan getting out of his car. Good to see that he is okay after that incident as well. I will put the steering wheel back together, getting the car up on the flatbed, but as well as we're nice to see the track workers are together, getting the track swept up and getting the track cleaned up so we can go back racing.
Well, it's good to see Emmett Ryan out of his car, especially with where he got hit, because he got hit in the driver's side by his family member in the 119 of Connor Ryan there, as Connor came full steam ahead from last spot right into the driver's door. So thankfully we're able to see Emmett get out of the car and under his own power okay, as it looks like he'll be watching the remainder of this race and also the third heat race today, but it's tough to say right now.
Well, we'll see. I mean, some of the guys, the Eurosport crew, the Advanced Autosport crew here on property is going to have to be putting in a heck of a job trying to get that car fixed up. Luckily enough, they'll have a GT race that's going to happen right in the middle of all this. That's coming up next after this SM2 race. That they'll have a little bit more time for them to be able to put the car back together. So, with that being said, we'll have to see if that car will be back together, ready to go for race 3 later on this afternoon.
And they also have the third Spec Miata heat race coming up, which will be immediately after our GT Challenge, which will be immediately after this race. As well as we have our race stream going on right now, you can stream live races from Autobahn's YouTube channel. Please like our videos and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the action, including the action that is going on here today. So we're 2 laps into this event here right now, as they're still working to get Emmett Ryan's car off the track. He is okay and out of the car. I'm not sure where he is at the moment, but he's fortunate to be okay. So Joe Miklos in the 523. Bit of unfamiliar territory for him right now, but he is leading, but he's got a hungry driver in Gavin Gleitzman, who has a fast car under him. Gleitzman finished 4th in the first heat race, and he's moved up to 2nd following his 3rd-place starting spot.
And while we also have a lull in the action as well, as like Matt said, like and subscribe the video, go ahead and hit that share button as well and get it out to any friends, family, and all the members that you know on your social media pages. And while you're on your social media pages sharing this YouTube stream with us, go ahead and like the Autobahn Country Club on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and all other social media platforms, and help the Autobahn Country Club community and club itself grow to the public.
Well, the field here going to be growing double file here once again. They're still single file as they're trying to work Emmett Ryan's car off the grid. His car has come to rest over at the guardrail, heading into the turn 1 area. There's Emmett sitting alongside the guardrail now. Had such a great car in the first heat race, and looked like he was going to try and make a real daredevilish move to get around a couple cars there, Jordan, but it just didn't go the way he had planned, and certainly not the way others had planned.
Yeah, definitely not the way we all like to see it planned out, and especially for Emmett Ryan himself. You know, he definitely would like to see that in a better way work itself out, but nonetheless, good learning moment for him in this case, and also a good moment for him to kind of just be able to kind of take the time to assess the damage and see what needs to be done on that car to get it ready to go for next race. But if you're also a member here at the Autobahn Country Club and you're liking what you're seeing on your screen right now, or seeing what's happening on the track, yes, that's riding behind a pace car, there is also lunchtime touring opportunities that are taking place that are already happening every day of the week. That happens out here. So if you really want to get into lunchtime touring, please go up to our clubhouse and go talk to either Amy or Ron on how to get involved with the lunchtime touring. We have different fleet cars with BMW, Cadillac, Chevrolet, Lexus, Nableton, Porsche, Westmont, and Terrapelli Ford, all part of our Autobahn Performance League partners, and it's part of our driver performance fleet car vehicle in our lunchtime touring sessions that you can have every day of the week the Autobahn is open.
And how are you able to find all that? Well, you could do that with the Autobahn app, which makes life at the club so much easier. Find track schedules, lap times, RSVP for social events, and make lunchtime touring reservations, as Jordan was just talking about, much more. With the Autobahn app, all club resources are just a click away here, as we are also it looks like we may be a lap away here, as they've managed to get Emmett Ryan's car onto the flatbed. They're going to try and get that out of the way here, as every lap so far in this race has been run under caution. We're 3 laps in to our second heat race here so far. Joe Miklos has led every one of them from the outside pole. Gavin Gleitzman running up in second, and Chris DiMuzio, our pole sitter, back to third, alongside Bob Grosselak in the 89 in fourth, as we're going to get a single file start here. It looks like it's a pace car. Are the lights off on the pace car? I couldn't tell. Nope, not off on the pace car yet. They're still working on getting Emmett's car going. It is on the flatbed. They're just trying to get it moved out of the way, as well as the remainder of our track and safety teams here off the course. Connor Ryan still out there with a wrinkled front bumper and a torn up left front fender there, Jordan.
He's going to be the trooper one of this race, as he's going to have to live with the damage that he sustained, unfortunately, in that first lap incident the rest of the race here. But nonetheless, it doesn't look like, as right now, under pace car, it's hindering the car performance. We'll have to wait until we go back green to find out if when the that performance of that car is going to be, if it's going to be hindered or not based on the damage he's received, as we've gotten word now, and we can see that the pace car lights have gone now, which means we're going to be going green this time by.
Emmett Ryan's car has moved off the track, and the field going to get a single file start here this next time by, as they're going to be bunching up, heading towards the back straightaway here, as there's the track and safety team towing Emmett's car off towards the pit lane area, followed by the red safety truck there. We'll have to see if Emmett's car is able to get fixed before the third and final heat race, which will be in just a little bit. But they got time, Jordan. I mean, they got a GT challenge coming up. We also have our third Spec Miata race coming up in just a little bit. We got tons of action going on here this afternoon for Emmett Ryan and the Eurosport team to try and get things going here. Pace lights are off the car. Joe Miklos going to lead them back to green here in just a second, followed by the rookie Gavin Gleitzman in the 51. As we go through the remainder of the field right now, it's DeMuzio, the pole sitter, back in third, Grosslack in fourth, Matteo Azzeri in fifth, Satterfield back in sixth, followed by Bruce Malter in seventh, Gary Traverso in eighth, Alan Zoker in ninth, Noel Sachs in 10th, Scott Benning Jr. in 11th, and Connor Ryan in the 119 back in 12th. We'll have to see how good his car is able to keep up with the damage it has sustained on the front bumper of that car.
And now, however, we do like to see the pace car in front of us with the ultra white LC500, the official pace car of Autobahn and Autobahn member racing here. We would like to thank you to our friends at Lexus for the continued participation in our Performance League and supplying us with this Lexus LC500 pace car. However, we like to see it a lot in front. We don't want to see it on track anymore. And we're hoping to leave the track surface so that we can get back to racing, which we are hoping to right now, as the pace car has now started to pull away from the field as they now make our way to turns 11 and 12. Field starts to bunch up. Joe Michelos now has them at hand as we get ready for the restart.
The first third of this race has mainly been run under caution. Let's see some green flag action here. Pace car pulls off into pit load. Joe Miklos, Gavin Gleitzman, and Chris DeMuzio. That's the top three right now. Behind them is Grosslack, Azzeri, and Satterfield, as we are back under racing here in our second heat race. And already some jockeying. Azzeri goes to the outside. Now Gleitzman looks to the inside of Miklos for the race lead. 3 wide for third between Grosslack, Azzeri, and DeMuzio, and Azzeri with the advantage. DeMuzio goes off the track. His day gets bad for Morris, and Miklos hangs on to the race lead right now over Gleitzman. But here comes Matteo Azzeri and Bob Grosslack, followed by Luke Satterfield in 13 after pushing Chris DeMuzio wide into turns 1 and 2.
As we got Bob Grosslack, who holds the advantage on the outside of Matteo Azzeri. Grosslack will now hold the third spot. Azzeri slots in the fourth, Satterfield in fifth. But it's Joe Michelos holding the advantage away from Gavin Gleitzman as they go through turn number 5 and now through 6. Grosslack is kind of hanging on to the balance of Gavin Gleitzman, now all over the back bumper of that orange number 51.
Here we go. Top 4 are nose to tail under Blake, and now Grosslack looks to the inside of Gleitzman. It's the veteran versus the rookie here as Gleitzman pulls a look to the inside of Miklos, trying to get around him right now. If I'm Gavin Gleitzman, you got to get around Joe Miklos in that 523 because Bob Grosslack, Matteo Azzeri, and Luke Satterfield are coming. They are hungry for that race lead right now, trying to get around them. Here we go down the backstretch. It looks like Gleitzman going to have a look down the inside. It looks like Miklos pulls high. We'll see what happens going to the braking zone. Grosslack all over the back, and Gavin Gleitzman with the inside momentum. We'll see what happens here. There's side-by-side contact. Miklos pushes Gleitzman up, and Miklos hangs onto the race lead as Grosslack goes to the outside of Gleitzman, pushing him back for third. Now Azzeri goes wide. Contact maybe with Gleitzman as Satterfield closes in on him for the 4th spot. So Bob Grosslack moving into second over Gavin Gleitzman.
It is elbows out racing here in the SM2 field, as that was a little bit of a shoulder from Joe Michelos coming through 12. And then Gavin Gleitzman gave a little bit of a shoulder to Arturo Azzeri as Michelos trying to go a little wide there. Grosslack around the outside through turn number 3. Give the lead to give Bob Grosslack. He goes to the point. Gavin Gleitzman now on the inside of Joe Michelos. He'll take second spot going into turn 4.
Well, Well, Joe Miklos rubbed Gavin Gleisman up high and out of the way in that last turn. And now Miklos goes off the track. He loses fourth, now third, now fourth to Satterfield. Him and Satterfield go side by side. Miklos hangs on to that fourth spot. But his car looks very off in terms of the handling, Jordan. He's been sliding around a couple times now. Miklos loose going out of that turn. Satterfield pulls the outside. He's going to have the advantage on the outside momentum, and he'll take the fourth spot away from Joe Miklos, trying to get back up to Matteo Azzari and the top three right now. Here's another battle going on towards the back. It's Alan Zoker in the one. Looks like he may be trying to take a peek on, looks like he gets around the 72 of Gary Traverso, actually. So that is a battle for 8th overall on the track as Grosslack leads, but Gavin Gleitzman all over the back bumper of him right now as Matteo Azzari following in suit for the top three positions right now. And Luke Satterfield, he's going to be a man on a mission here trying to get caught back up to the top three right now to get himself in a podium position.
Matteo Azzari is now over the back bumper of Gavin Gleitzman as well. So Gavin Gleitzman, the rookie, has potentially the championship leader right behind him. Matteo Azzari trying to go for his second win of the day, running in the third spot right now. He's in pretty good prime points position for the Triple Crown event that we have here today. However, he wants more. He wants to go for that number one spot so that way he can have the least amount of points possible.
Well, here comes Gleitzman again. He's got to try and get around the 89 of Bob Grosslack. As Grosslack has set sail right now. Gleitzman wants it, though. It has been veteran versus rookies so far in this race here today, as the veteran has pretty much maintained the advantage over the rookies so far, but we'll see what happens here as Gleitzman puts a bit of distance between himself and Azzari for second right now, sets its sights on Grosslack in that gray number 89. Gleitzman in the 51 trying to go to work here. That is the car number that he runs on the junior kart class at the kart track, but it's a different color. He normally runs a patriotic scheme. This time around, he's running an orange car, very reminiscent, looks like, of Tony Stewart's car, as Azzari pulls the inside of Gleitzman for second. Advantage Matteo Azzari, but Gleitzman hanging tough on the outside right now, but it's not going to matter too much as Azzari goes back to the second position here, setting his sights on Bob Grosslack for the race lead.
Well, for those of you who've been around the Autobahn way too long enough to know who the name Gleitzman here in the Spec Miata series, it goes back to his dad of Jamie Gleitzman. Jamie Gleitzman has been able to has been a long-time member here at the Autobahn Country Club and has been really well-rounded here in the Spec Miata series, a two-time champion. He is the dad of Gavin Gleitzman, has been showing him a bunch of all the tips and tricks on how to get around this place in the Spec Miata. So a little bit of father teaches son moments here, but I'm sure Jamie Gleitzman around here has been being a very proud dad right now, seeing Gavin Gleitzman driving in the third spot here at the Autobahn Country Club in race number 2.
Well, Gavin Gleitzman is in prime position for a podium spot right now. He just needs to hang on here as we have 5 laps to go in what has been a hectic SM2 second heat race so far. So Grosslack leading, Matteo Azzari in second, Gleitzman third, Luke Satterfield ran the quickest lap the last time by with a 1 minute 40.220. He's back in fourth. It's Joe Miklos still hanging on in fifth, Chris DiMuzio, the pole sitter, sliding to sixth, Alan Zoker in seventh, Bruce Malter eighth, Connor Ryan maintaining very well with the damaged race car up to ninth ahead of Gary Traverso, Noel Sachs, and Scott Benning. There's the rest of the field going by as we have our 12 cars remaining in what was a 13-car field at the start of this race. And we can see off in the distance, it looks like a battle for the lead heating up as Matteo Azzari catching up to the back bumper of Bob Grosslack. Here we go, heading down the back straightaway. Matteo has been on the charge so far, started 6th, maintained a great advantage, and here comes Alan Zoker outbraking Chris DiMuzio into the turn 6 area. He will take that spot away. Alan Zoker, give him another attaboy for picking up another position, and Luke Satterfield catching up to the top 3 right now. Satterfield, man on a mission, trying to get back to a podium position.
It's also good to see that Connor Ryan, his car has not been hindering him enough to where he needs to pull out the track. He's actually been able to stay on the racetrack and it's not hindering his performance. However, back up front, we have Bob Grosslack, who continues to lead the way. Matteo Azzari has moved up to second, and Gavin Gleitzman in third, but don't count out Luke Satterfield, who just turned the fastest lap of the race, the last lap. He is now catching up to this 3-car pack, and it wants a piece of this lead and wants a piece of this front pack.
Well, the last time it was Satterfield again, fastest lap with a 1 minute 40.122. He is gaining up on these top 3 here very quickly, as it looks like Gleitzman ran a quicker lap than our leaders, Grosslack and Azzari. So you can imagine the leaders, the air quality is sort of disrupting their ability to get away from third and fourth place here, and it's allowing Gleitzman and Satterfield to gain up to them just a little bit here, Jordan, as this race is still continuing to heat up. It's far from over as we are 2/3 distance through the second heat race.
We have 4 laps to go in this race, but there is still plenty of time for anything to happen, as the top 4 have strung away from about almost 7 seconds to Joe Mikolos in the 5th spot. Alan Zoker sits in the 6th spot right behind him. He's closed the gap on him a little bit, as he has now been a half a second to 0.6 of a second faster after each lap. Also further back, we see Connor Ryan going to the inside, trying to go to the inside of Bruce Malter there. That's a little bit further back for the 8th spot here as they go into turn number 8. He takes a peek to the inside, thinks better of it, will sink back in line. However, further back, Noel Sachs looks to the inside of Gary Traverso, doesn't make anything work of it. He falls back in line. Traverso holds on to the spot.
Well, I got to give credit to Connor Ryan in that 319. There's a battle going on here. Azari looks to the inside of Grosslek. We'll see what happens there. Here we go, and Azari pulls to the outside. Oh, spinning! He slides! He saves it! What a save for Matteo Azari, but he falls back to 4th. Satterfield moving up to 2nd on Gleisman. Chaos here up towards the front of the pack as Grosslek maintains the lead after Matteo Azari slip sliding over into the braking zone.
Luke Satterfield will say, thank you very much, boys. I'll take those 2 spots. Go from 4th up to 2nd. Now he's falling under pressure from Gavin Gleitzman, who throws onto the defensive mood. Satterfield will hold the 2nd spot. He can now shift his focus up to Bob Grosslek in the lead. And just like that, this whole Triple Crown heat race format has blown wide open with the mistake from Matteo Azari.
Well, Luke Satterfield saw that, and he took a 2-for-1 special right there on Matteo Azari and Gavin Gleitzman as he moves into 2nd, trying to get around the 89 of Bob Grosslek. Grosslek has just had everything happening around him today so far. There's been wrecks happening around him. There's been car slip sliding around him, but he's just maintained the lead right now, trying to hold off Luke Satterfield again, as Satterfield has had the fastest car so far in this heat race here. But we're not sure. Matteo Azari still, he hasn't lost too much ground here as we have a battle, looks like going on for 5th. Alan Zoker catching up to the back of Joe Miklos. He gets the inside of him. It looks like he'll have the preferred line. And Alan Zoker going to move back into the top 5. He had a good race in the first heat race before he got taken out by the 81 of Emmett Ryan. And Alan Zoker charging his way back up towards the front of the field.
If Matteo Azari can get back up to this lead pack with about 3 laps to go, it's coming to 2. If he can get by Gavin Gleitzman, that's going to make these top 3 of Bob Grosslek, Luke Satterfield, and Matteo Azari even points going into the last race, which means they're going to have a straight-up fight going into heat race number 3. We'll see what happens as we are coming to 2 laps to go as Bob Grosslek comes around the final corner, being chased down by Luke Satterfield and Gavin Gleitzman still on his tail.
Looks like Grosslek pulled away just a little bit there from Satterfield right now as Gleitzman had a peek to the outside, and it was Matteo who ran the quickest lap despite going off. He ran a 1:39.937, about almost a full second faster than our top 3. So Matteo Azari pulling up, just trying to make up some of that lost time. And we actually did see that between Mark Sadalski and Bob Grosslek in a race here a couple months ago, Jordan. It was a battle between them all race long. Sadalski got off the track. He lost a lot of time to Grosslek, and in just a matter of laps, just a matter of a couple laps, it was Sadalski who got back around Grosslek and stole the victory away from him. Could we see that from Matteo Azari here as he's trying to get back up to our race leaders?
We are 2 laps to go right now. Luke Satterfield looks like he ran a little wide there at the exit of turn 6, gave potentially advantage to Gavin Gleitzman. However, Matteo Azari has put his head down, has put the helmet on and visor down, and he is coming after the top leaders here. It is Grosslek, Satterfield, Gleitzman, and Azari as they go through turn number 9 and into turn number 10.
Well, Gleitzman's had a couple looks on Satterfield for 2nd, trying to get around him. He's able to hang with him, but he's not able to find a way around him, much like Matt Alexander was with Matt Keck. Here he goes looking the outside. Matteo going to follow him. Now Matteo cuts back the inside. Crossover move here potentially coming, and Matteo Azari gets back one of those positions that he lost after going off the track just a couple laps ago. So Matteo Azari moves back to 3rd, but Bob Grosslek trying to set sail here over Luke Satterfield, Gavin Gleitzman, and Matteo Azari as he'll see the white flag waving in the air this time by. White flag out in this second heat race here for our SM2 class, and Azari caught back up to the back of 2nd place. Luke Satterfield trying to look for a way around him.
Grosselec going to try to do all he can to hold off the fighting battle between Satterfield and Azari that's happening behind him. If the field was to finish the way it was right now, the top three would be tied on points and have a straight-up fight for race number 3 to who wins the day in terms of the championship point standings. However, all three of them, lockstep formation, Grosselec, Satterfield, Azari, still the top three right in lockstep.
Well, here we go. This is going to be a fight to the finish. The top 4 cars still under a blanket as Gavin Gleisman has not gone away. Matteo Azari is all over the back of Luke Satterfield trying to get back up to the second spot here, trying to gain as much track position as he lost in the braking zone. They're going to have another look on Bob Grosselec here going down the back straightaway here. Grosselec has maintained a sizable advantage. We'll see what Matteo Azari could do here with second place Luke Satterfield. Not sure if they can catch up to the 89 of Grosselec here. As we go on board with our drone, our aerial footage here, they go down the back straightaway. Satterfield pulls ahead a little bit of Azari. Can he get a run on Grosselec? Looks like he may not be able to have enough. Grosselec too far ahead right now. We'll see what happens here in the braking zone. And it's Azari pulls the outside of Satterfield for second, but Satterfield with the inside momentum takes the spot back, and that's all Grosselec needs to see. Now Azari goes back to the inside. Satterfield cuts him off. Here we go. It's going to be a dogfight for second. Azari goes side by side with Satterfield. It is Grosselec who wins, and Azari back up to second. What a comeback for Matteo Azari after going wide in the braking zone. It is Grosselec who wins. Azari second, Satterfield third, Gavin Gleisman fourth, Alan Zoker fifth, Joe Miklo sixth, Chris DiMuzio seventh, Bruce Malter eighth, and it looks like Gary Traverso ninth, followed by Noel Saxon the 10th, rounding out the top 10. Connor Ryan and Scott Benning Jr. round out the remainder of this field here. Wow, what a finish in our second SM2 heat race, Jordan.
Absolutely. We've had a plethora of good racing today, and what a move by Matteo Azari not to give up there. One shot to the inside, came back across with the crossover move and just hung the momentum on the outside, crossed over into turn 13 and used the inside run, the shorter distance of the racetrack and the power of the Spec Miata to pull his way right past Luke Satterfield as that's our top 10 with Bob Grosselec in the win. Matteo Azari then comes home in second, was able to beat out Luke Satterfield by just over a tenth of a second for the second spot. Luke Satterfield comes home third, Gavin Gleitzman in fourth, Alan Zoker comes home in fifth, Joe Miklos comes in sixth, Chris DiMuzio seventh, Bruce Malter at eighth, Gary Traverso in ninth, and then Noel Sachs rounds out the top 10.
Well, this was an intense SM2 heat race. We saw carnage on the opening lap, followed by a lot of jockeying for position for the race lead. Bob Grosselec wins. He will start on pole for our third and final SM2 heat race, but Matteo Azari getting a big nod after going off track and nearly spinning the car out, was able to claw his way back up to second, edging Luke Satterfield at the line by maybe a quarter of a car length there. So the remainder of the field going to pull off into the pit lane here as we get ready for our GT Challenge. Our GT Challenge here, 20 laps around the South Circuit at the Autobahn Country Club before we have our third and final heat races for Spec Miata and SM2, which will be coming up in just a second. As we just get done with our SM2 heat race number 2, we have our GT Series Challenge event here, race 6 on the season for the GT Series. Our sponsors today, Highland Management Associates, Eurosport, and CXI Trucking. Matt Lauterbach in the booth here once again with Jordan Missick following an incredible second heat race in our SM2 battle. Now we get a chance for some normal racing again here in order to catch our breaths. It's our GT Challenge event here. We got a lot of drivers coming up in our GT Class Challenge as we're going to get through our starting field here in just a second. We have 5 classes competing today from GT1 to GT5. Our GT1 pole sitter is Tadas Karlinskis in the 313. Starting alongside is the number 999 of Brandon Collins right now. That's the big fight of the day. In GT2, it's Tom Herb on the pole in the 46. Alongside is Britt Casey Sr. in the number 36. And the other GT2 car in the field will be the number 40 of Dick Ruck. Row 3 for GT3, our pole sitter, will be Ron Rashinsky in the number 7. Starting alongside is Valdez Garilius and the number 24 car. In GT4, our pole winner is Charlie Margosian. He will be driving the number 229 today. And other GT4 cars will be Scott Benning Sr. in the 59, Sean Van Chivius in the number 023, Julie Ridgen in the number 90, and Jeff Schur in the number 071. And our GT5 pole sitter will be Mike Keck driving the number 691. Starting the other GT5 car will be Bob Norian in the number 89. So, Jordan, we got a full field coming up in our GT Class Challenge here today following our SM heat battles here. 20 laps around the South Circuit. Should be exciting.
Absolutely. We got about 14 cars as well. They're going to be taking the grid here and taking the green flag this time by as well. People are coming to complete the first of 2 pace laps, I should say, as they now feel as make their way over to turn number 4. We also like to thank most of our sponsors here on the GT side as well, as we have a bunch of sponsors that are on board with the GT Racing Series here at the Audubon Country Club. We also like to thank the Highland Management Associates, who have been part of the Incorporated, have been part of it, Eurosport and CSI Trucking, who have been many of our main sponsors here at the Audubon Country Club. We also like to thank most of our broadcast sponsors of Signature Signs as well, Signature Production Group here with helping us with all of our production standards here at the Audubon Country Club, all these beautiful pictures and all of the beautiful coverage that you've been seeing here at the Audubon Country Club. We cannot thank them enough for all their support and help.
Has made a lot of this racing here possible here today, and a lot of the live broadcast of this amazing, exciting, and thrilling racing here at the Audubon Country Club. It's been made possible for all of you to see on our live broadcast. So we got another lap and a half for our pace car to be out there before we get going on our GT lap event. It's Brandon Collins in the 999. Surprisingly did not win the pole today. It was Tadas Karlinskas in the 313 who was able to take it from him. Brandon pretty much has the GT Challenge nearly locked up so far for the championship, but Tadas putting up a little bit of a fight today, Jordan. What do you expect in terms of the track conditions?
Well, Tadas has been really good with his GT3 car as well. He's also only got the pole by 2/10 over Brandon Collins there at the very last minute, so really good effort and a really good qualifying effort by Tadas Karlinskas here. I would expect these two to go tooth and nail and basically have an all-out brawl between each other. You know, these two guys are really close in terms of speed, really close in terms of horsepower, so I wouldn't expect them both to get away from one another, and I would expect it to fight all the way to the end between these two.
Well, it'll definitely be a very thrilling battle here going into the first turn. As the field will come around, they will get the green flag this next time by here to start our GT Challenge race event at the Audubon Country Club. It'll be 20 laps around the South Circuit here. We've had a lot of carnage and excitement so far in our Spec Miata racing. We'll see what happens with our GT Challenge event, but it's going to be a bit of a shift here going from our Triple Crown racing event to sort of normal racing here in terms of who will win in the overall classes from GT1 to GT5 in just a second.
This is kind of like your prelude event coming up to the main event. That's going to be the Spec Miata series when we get to the green flag here at the end of this race. As we have on board, thank you, Tom Herb, for being our onboard camera user for this race, as well as we are taking him on the pace lap around the South Circuit. Really good onboard shots that we could see of both the Tadas Karlinskas and Brandon Collins in front of them. Hopefully we'll be able to see them a lot longer than this, but they might be able to take themselves right off into the distance. So thank you, Tom Herb, for having the Sentinel onboard camera with us for this GT Challenge race.
Tom Herb, the first driver in the GT series at Audubon to feature an onboard camera as Sentinel, our sponsor for the onboard camera system here today, as we take a look at the drivers towards the back of the field here so far. Again, now this isn't just overall finish. It's based on overall class. It's Tadas right now on the pole, but Brandon Collins in that silver and orange number 999 trying to look for a way around him. That's going to be the battle for the GT1 championship so far. And then you got Tom Herb right behind them in that 46, going to try and hold off Britt Casey Sr. in the 36. That is for the GT2 overall class fight. And not far behind them is the white number 40 of Dick Ruck. As you see Dick going down there with the black numbering of the 40. on that white car there. And we have a few GT3 cars, a few GT4 cars, and a few GT5 cars as well. As the field now getting themselves double file here as they'll make their way towards this braking zone, and they'll come around to complete the opening lap, or start the opening of this race as we go on board Tom Herb in row 2, starting from the 3rd overall spot. And again, it'll be a dogfight going into turns 1 and 2 between Collins and Karlinskas right now. We'll see what happens with that as we go double file here. It's going to be 14 cars in total in this race here today. Pace car is off, and the green flag for the GT Series race is about to get underway. Green flag waving. We're underway in our GT Series Challenge Race 6. And Karlinskas and Collins going side by side already. And advantage Tadas Karlinskas. He'll take the lead right now. Collins pulls the inside, but Karlinskas cuts him off for the race lead right now as the field going double wide behind them, as it looks like Dick Ruck and Britt Casey Sr. going at it. Casey Sr. with a bit of a rough start, falling behind the number 7 of Ron Rashinsky overall as he slots in behind Ruck in the 40. That is for the fight in the GT2 class.
A little bit of sideways action there with Ron Rashinsky there, and going into turn number 4, he was able to collect it right in front of Scott Benning Sr. As now, as we move our way through turn number 6, a little bit side-by-side action further back. That's a couple BMWs there going side-by-side. I believe that is the 24 of Valdez going on the inside there. He's able to collect the car back up. As up front, it's been Tadas Karlinskas and Brandon Collins there nose to tail as they go through down to the back straightaway over towards turn number 10, and now in the back straightaway to turn 11.
Here we head towards the back straightaway. Julie Ridgen in the number 90 trying to find her way around the field here, as it looks like we have Tom Herb clearing ahead over Ron Rashinsky in the GT3. Dick Ruck setting sail over Britt Casey Sr. in the 36, as Karlinskas and Collins going head-to-head for the race lead. Now Casey Sr. going to the inside of Ruck. That is for 2nd overall in the GT2 class. And Casey Sr. going to try and move his way back up towards the GT2 race leader of Tom Herb, as we have one lap completed in this event here at the Audubon Country Club.
Ron Rashinsky was able to get himself up to the 4th spot. Britt Casey Sr. up in the 5th, and then Dick Ruck in the 6th spot right now. But right now the focus has been on the front runners, as Ron Rashinsky, I believe, goes looking to the inside there. No, that wasn't Ron Rashinsky, excuse me. That was Charlie Margosian going to the inside of Shane Bekovicius going through turn number 1.
And it looks like he made it stick as we go single file here once again. Field looks to be now evenly spaced out here in our GT2 class. That is actually, that's Scott Benning Sr. It looks like Charlie Margosian going at it in the 229 here. Charlie following him around. And Tadas Karlinskas ran about 0.4 seconds quicker than Brandon Collins did. Tadas with a 1 minute 29.747. Brandon with a 1 minute 30.154. As that's going to be the battle overall in the race. And also for GT1, we go on board with Tom Herb. You can just see off in the distance, there's Brandon chasing Tadas right now, as Herb holding off Ron Rashinsky for 3rd overall on the track, trying to hang on to the GT2 lead over Britt Casey Sr. as he'll snake his way down the back straightaway here on our Sentinel onboard camera. There we go. We can see his miles per hour going up here down this back straightaway. Gets up to 90, over 100 right now, over 110. Maybe into the 120s as he's going to have to get ready into this braking zone here as we go on board with Tom Herb, providing us this incredible onboard camera shot in this race today.
125 miles an hour down to 45 miles an hour in a span of 100, let's say 200, 300 feet, I'd say. Not an easy task to be able to do, but Tom Herb displaying a really wealth of driving talent there as he went through into the braking zone at turn 11. As there's our front runners of Tadas Karlinskas and Brandon Collins right now as they run 1-2 in lockstep formation, both running within 0.2 of a lap time between each other. And you can see Tom Herb in the 3rd spot, Casey Jr. in 4th, and then Ron Rashinsky runs in the 5th spot, who is leading the GT3 class.
Casey Sr. was able to go around Rashinsky for 4th overall, setting his sights on Tom Herb in the GT2 class. And Collins, the last time by, was about 0.2 seconds quicker than Tadas was. Collins with a 1 minute 25.829. Tadas with a 1 minute 26 second .011. But Tadas continuing to set sail here, puts a bit of distance between himself and Brandon for the race lead right now overall in this event. Here we still got 14 cars still on the field. we go through the remainder of the field, it's Ron Roshinsky in 5th in a GT3. It's Dick Ruck in the GT2 in the number 40 and 6th. Charlie Margosian in the 229 and 7th. Scott Benning Sr. in 8th. Here we have a gaggle of cars going at it here towards the back. Bob Norian in the 89 going back there. It looks like that's Valdez and Mike Keck going at it here alongside of Scott Benning Sr. and Sean Venchivius going just ahead of them, as that looks to be a battle for about 8th to 11th on the track right now, as Bob Norian in the 89 coming into frame here in that GT5 class car, as they'll come around here to complete 3 laps in this GT Series Challenge.
3 laps down, 17 to go. We still got a lot of racing action left to go here, as we got Sean V on the bumper with Valdez actually on the bumper of Sean V, and then you got Mike Keck on the back bumper of all of them. So just single file lockstep formation action that's happening right in front of all these guys all together in coordination group together. But up front, it's been Tadas Karlinskis and Brandon Collins just leading the way.
Well, the lap times between Tadas and Brandon have been flip-flopping a lot. Tadas last time with a 1 minute 25 second .157. Brandon was about 7/10 slower with a 1 minute 25.888 that last time by. As here we have a gaggle of 4 cars going at it here. This looks to be again from about the 8th to the 11th position, as Sean trying to hold off Valdez right there, and Mike Keck in the 691, that Autobahn-sponsored car, trying to hang in tough pursuit, as the field making their way down the backstretch. Tremendous shot of our drone heading down this back straightaway here. As you can see, the field going by. Dick Ruck being chased by Charlie Margosian in the 229. That's a GT2 versus GT4. Here's a car going the inside. It looks like it's Valdez on the inside of Sean V. Here we go, heading towards the braking zone, and Valdez able to hold off Sean for the moment. It looks like battle heating up there between those 2 cars.
Yeah, absolutely. The battle is raging on as they come through turn 13, coming on to stripe and completing another lap. You got Sean Valdez actually in front of Sean V as they head now into turn number 1. Sean V will actually have to still be in hot pursuit of Valdez, but they're all following behind Scott Benning Sr. in that number 59 BMW.
As we get through that, Tadas is continuing to set some higher lap times with a 1 minute 24 second .632, and he has lap traffic coming up here. He's got the 071 of Jeff Schur. He'll make easy work of Schur, goes to the inside of him in the braking zone and puts Schur a lap down between himself and the 999 of Brandon Collins. That is for overall on the track right now. It's Collins, what a pass right there. Nearly got off into the grass, but able to just lightning by Schur in the 071. What a pass by Collins.
There is no slowing down in that number 999. Thread the needle, why don't you call it, as he is on the hunt to go get Tadas Karlinskis there. He needed to make that move happen in order to not lose any more time than he already has, because look at the gap that Tadas has already put on Brandon Collins. He needs as much time as he can and also needs to find a little bit of pace in that little 999 Porsche.
We're a quarter of a distance through this race here today so far, and it looks like we got a battle going on here. That's Scott Benning Sr. and Valdez going at it towards the braking zone. Valdez trying to move his way up, put some distance between himself and Sean V for the lead in that battle overall. But Benning Sr. going to hang tough right now, able to lead in that GT4. They are not racing for overall class. That is a battle for position overall on the track, but it's not for overall class, as Benning Sr. is hoping that Valdez stays between himself and the 023 of Sean Venchivius right now, because Venchivius is running a GT4 trying to catch back up to the 59 of Benning Sr. As we see the field going here towards the turn 4 area, Mike Keck trying to follow Sean in hot pursuit there, as Valdez looks trying to get around Benning Sr. in the 59. They'll make their way towards the back straightaway here in just a second. As we go on board with Tom Herb here right now. And Herb going to catch some lap traffic here, trying to hang tough over the 36 of Rick Casey Sr. That is the battle overall in our GT2 class challenge here, Jordan.
Yeah, Tom Herb is right now about maybe a 6-second lead over Rick Casey Sr. in that number 36 car, in the 36 BMW, I should say, as they head down to turn number 11 through 12 and 13. But right now, as we see us on track, there's the number 40 of Dick Ruck with beautiful flames shooting out the side of those exhaust pipes on that Trans Am car.
What a shot here at the end of our back straightaway here, and it looks like Valdez got around Benning Sr. for position as we see Sean wiggling ahead of Mike Keck in the number 691. Here comes Bob Norian with the big headlights on his GT5. He'll come around here into the braking zone now, and we should see Julie Ridgen coming here in just a second, not far back, as we see our race leaders. It is Tadas and Brandon leading the field right now. They've put Julie a lap down, and Tadas continuing to grow that big lead over the 99 of Brandon Collins.
Yeah, right now, as we can see, with the beautiful drone shot we had there, you would hate to see anybody lock up the brakes and go straight into that drone there. So good news to get to move out of the way there. But beautiful drone shot that we were able to receive there going into the braking zone of turn 11 really gives you an idea of how the bumps and everything under the braking wise with those cars and how much the car moves around under braking. So that's a really good view of what we've been able to see with those cars and what happens under braking. But as for the moment, Tadas Karlinskis continues to open up the lead, has opened up a 3.3 second lead over the number 999 of Brandon Collins as they run through turn number 4 right now. And we have some guys going through turn number 8 that looks like the number 0223 of Sean V and the number 691 of Mike Keck.
And some more jockeying here for position. Right now, it looks like Mike Keck trying to catch up to the back of Sean V. He's going to have a look heading towards the back straightaway as he's going to pull up to the back bumper of him right now. Not sure if he'll make anything happen with it just yet. But Sean getting a big run down the back stretch, able to just plow farther away from the 691 of Mike Keck. They are not battling for class position right now. They are different classes. Sean in a GT4, Mike in a GT5. As the GT5s right now, is Mike currently leading that over the 89 of Bob Norian right now. That is for the GT5 class right now. So you got you caught up as we see Ron Rashinsky going around here. Rashinsky in the number 7, leading the GT3 class right now over Valdez and Valdez Gorillas in the number 24 right now. As those are the two GT3 cars running. Rashinsky running 5th overall on the racetrack as we see there a little bit ahead of them heading down the back straightaway. Brick Casey Sr. trying to follow the number 46 of Tom Herb in close pursuit. As we see Rashinsky making his way towards the back straightaway. We got 12 laps to go in this GT Series Challenge event, Jordan.
Just above halfway, I should say. We're coming around 2 laps away from the halfway mark on this whole race, and it has been pretty much a pretty decent race for the most part. A little bit more spread out, and a little bit more. Everyone's kind of gotten into their little groove here later on as we move more into this race. But it's still a couple of close battles that we've seen. You know, the top guys up at the front, Tadas Karlinskis, has still pulled away from Brandon Collins to now 4.1 second lead. But further back, we have around the GT3 field, or GT2 field, I should say, of Tom Herb, still trying to pull away from Brick Casey Sr. He has about an 8-second lead over him.
As we see the remainder of the field making their way here towards the front straightaway, there's Benning Sr. right now with the lap car of Joe Schur between them, and between him it looks like the 023 of Sean Venchivius right now. Schur going to try and make his way down the front straightaway here. There's Venchivius and Keck right behind him as they're closing on him to put him a lap down. And the leaders will have 11 laps to go as we see our race leader, Tadas Karlinskis, coming by here. He's going to try and put Benning Sr. and Venchivius 1 lap down, and followed not far behind him is Brandon Collins in the number 99. The next time by, the leaders will complete halfway through this race as they're trying to negotiate their way through some lap traffic of the 071 of Jeff Schur.
Cars right now are still continuing to run really well as we see now Tadas Karlinskis go to the inside of Jeff Schur in between turns 4 and 5. Schur running his normal line, being predictable for all of our guys to get by, so doing a really nice job of that. Karlinskis now continuing to put down rapid laps here as he's down to a 125.780. His last time by is about a second off of his fastest lap, as now he puts down Mike Keck a lap down and is thinking about putting Sean V a lap down right in front of him. We have right now, there he goes by Sean V. He'll pull out of the way. Tadas Karlinskis will go on by. Mike Keck able to kind of still hang on to the back bumper of him. That's a GT4 car hanging on, trying to pull away from a GT5 car in that 944 of Mike Keck.
Well, Keck had a look to the outside, but Sean going to able to pull and power ahead very quickly with that momentum on the outside as Tadas puts 2 cars between himself and Brandon Collins in the number 99 right now, as Tadas is going to come around the front straightaway here to complete another lap in this GT Series challenge here, and he'll get the halfway signal. He did get the halfway signal this time by. There goes Tadas. Here comes Brandon. They'll complete halfway through this GT Series challenge. And so far, that is the race overall in the field, as we see Tom Herb and our Sentinel onboard car camera here going down the back straightaway. Herb has about a 7-second difference over the number 36 of Brick Casey, as we see his mile chart here going up to about the 115 over the 120s, as he's going to make his way to the braking zone here, as we have more jockeying for position going on, as Tadas is catching up to the back of Scott Benning Sr. in the 59 right now. Benning Sr. trying to hang on in a GT4 class car and catching up to the 229 of Charlie Margosian for the GT4 challenge lead.
Now, the interesting thing here is you can see the trade-off between the battle of Sean V and Mike Keck. These guys right here, John V gets a little bit more of a drive off the corner because of the more horsepower that he has in his car, but Mike Keck's car is a lot lighter and handles a little bit more nimble than what Sean V's car is doing. So he's able to close back up in the middle of the corners here, but once we get to the straightaways, you'll see Sean V just kind of power out and just drive down the straightaway away from Mike Keck in that 691 Porsche that he has there. But every time he goes through a corner, whether it's a high-speed or low-speed corner, Mike Keck is right back on that bumper, ready to pounce as he goes to another one.
As they put the 59 of Scott Benning Sr. a lap down, Benning Sr. is not far behind the 229 of Charlie Margosian for that lead in the GT4 challenge, as Tadas is looking to get around him to put him a lap down. Here he goes into between turns 3 and 4, and he'll put Margosian a lap down, as Benning Sr. following suit in the 59, trailing in a GT4. That is for first overall in the GT4 challenge. There goes Margosian. There goes Benning, about maybe a full straightaway behind him there. And the field going to make their way, heading towards the back straightaway again, as their second place, Brandon Collins, trying to see if he can catch back up to Tadas right now, as we have 9 laps remaining in this 20-lap event here at the Autobahn Country Club.
You know, and we look on the south track here, it's a really good option to look at all the buildings that we have here on the left-hand side of the track here. And it's all of the buildings that all these members either have built here on property or have rented here in those condos in the background over there. And most of these cars that we see on track here are all stored here at the Autobahn Country Club via shops that are on the north side part of the track, or they store them in those buildings there on the south side. So some members who've all built these are all privately owned buildings that they have built for them to live here year-round, throughout the weekend, or whenever day of the week they want to. They could come in and live at those buildings, or they could store the cars here on property here at the Autobahn Country Club. So a lot of options for people to be able to store your car here, where it's in storage garages, in the shops here on the north side, or build your own building to have your storage life here at the Autobahn Country Club. It's also a great place for entertainment and to have some fun with friends and family.
It is indeed. It's wonderful housing over on the back of the Autobahn Country Club, which we call our Garage Mahal, I believe, actually, as Brandon Collins goes by Margosian to put him a lap down. Margosian trying to hold off Scott Benning Sr. right now for the overall lead in the GT4 class challenge. That is for the lead in that. Tom Herb still leading Britt Casey Sr. in the GT2 class challenge, ahead of Dick Ruck in the number 40. That's the GT2 podium as of right now. For GT3, Ron Roshinsky still leading over Valdes in the 24. Those are the only GT3 cars out there right now. And in GT5, our 2 cars out there are Mike Keck in the 691 and Bob Norian in the 89. Keck currently leading over Norian by about 22 seconds as of right now. As there goes Britt Casey Sr. right there, out in his way to turns 1 and 2, and Tadas going to try and put another lap down, or put a lap down on Dick Ruck, who is still running on the lead lap. He put Julie Ridgen a lap down, and here goes Tadas in the 313, moving by Dick Ruck in that GT2 to put him a lap off pace, setting his sights on some more lap cars.
Yeah, he is probably about 1.2 seconds a lap faster than Brandon Collins in that 993 Porsche. So Brandon Collins is trying to do everything he can to hang on with Tadeusz Karlinskis, but Karlinskis is really showing the way here as we see Brandon Collins go by Julie Riggin there in the number 999 Porsche. Right now, Brandon Collins is trying to do everything he can to hold off the battle, and he's gained a little bit of time there due to the lap traffic that Tadeusz had to go through. It's now about a 6.7 second gap, but still a lot of time and a lot of ground to be made if he wants to get back into this race.
Definitely has a lot more time. He's got 7 laps to go in this race here. There goes Julie Riggin being chased by the 7 of Ron Roshinsky, it seems. And not far back behind them is the 229 of Charlie Margosian. Looks like Roshinsky had a look to the inside of Riggin there. And Roshinsky powers ahead on the outside. Riggin's going to let him go by. And looks like it's nope, that's actually Valdez right there moving up. Sorry, not Ron Roshinsky, but Valdez Gorillas in the 24, moving a position ahead of the number 90 of Julie Riggin right now. And behind them is Charlie Margosian being chased by Scott Benning Sr. And Benning Sr. has caught up to him a little bit. That is for overall in the GT3 challenge right now, Jordan. So the battle for the GT3 winner is heating up a little bit as Benning is catching back up to Charlie there.
Yeah, Scott Benning Sr. right now is just trying to put in as many laps as he can and put in some quick laps as he's been able to. The last time by, he was about a second and a half faster than Charles Margosian. That must have had a little bit of hindrance with lap traffic there as Charles Margosian goes by the number 90 of Julie Riggin there, putting her a lap down. And then Scott Benning Sr. right now trying to get up to the back bumper of Julie Riggin to put her lap down potentially before the corner. Not going to happen. We'll tuck back in line, wait till the straightaway here. Now he'll get on the gas, pull up to the driver's right-hand side. We'll pass Julie Riggin and now try to set his sights on Charles Margosian right in front of him.
Well, Margosian's got to keep it cautious and he's got to keep it smart here, trying to hang on to the lead in the GT4 overall finish right now as we have 6 laps to go in this race here right now. As we got to look at our field here, Tadas leading by 7 seconds over Brandon Collins in the 999. That is for overall in the field and for overall in our GT1 class challenge right now. As we see, it looks like Valdez going by here ahead of Charles Margosian and the 59 of Scott Benning Sr. That is the fight for the GT4 race right now. In GT2, Tom Herb still leading over Britt Casey Sr. and Dick Ruck. For the moment, it looks like Casey Sr. sliced that lead a little bit, Jordan. It's now down to 6 seconds here from 22 just a little bit ago.
It was about 6 seconds, and, he's brought that lead down quite a bit, I should say, as he's been able to catch. As Jeff Scher has kind of pulled off the racetrack there, he's kind of on pit road, signaling to the marshal there that they think he's pulling off the track. Yep, he is going to call it quits and call it a day here in this GT Challenge race, 5 laps short of the finishing mark.
What a shame for Jeff Scher. He was just trying to make it through this event, but it looks like his race will be cut just a little bit short as we have 5 laps to go in this race. We are 3/4 distance through this 20-lap event here as we get a look at our drone shot going down the back straightaway here. There's Tadas. Nope, that's not Tadas. That's Tom Herb in the 46 leading the GT2 race right now over Britt Casey Sr. in the 36. Casey trying to shave off a bit more of that lap time. Down to 6.3 seconds between the two drivers right now. Herb goes through the braking zone. Now Casey going to try and negotiate the braking zone here as they'll come around to complete 15 laps in this race. And not far behind them, I believe, is our leaders, Tadas Karlinskis and Brandon Collins. As there goes Herb completing a lap, followed immediately by Casey Sr.
Yeah, the battle also for GT4 has been heating up as well. Charlie Margosian and Scott Benning Sr. right there. It's now between, I want to say, 4/10 of a second, or at least a second, I would say, between the two. 1.8 seconds to be exact. So these two guys have been really battling too through thick and thin this whole entire race. It is for 8th and 9th position overall, but battle for the lead in GT4.
As we got to look at our GT2 field, it was Casey who was about 0.6 a second quicker than Herb the last time by. Casey Sr. with a 1 minute 29 second .360. Herb with a 1 minute 29 second .985. So Britt Casey Sr. is continuing to shave off a bit more of those lap times as we have the battle for the lead in our GT4 class challenge. Scott Benning Sr. is catching up to the back of Charles Margosian right now, as it looks like it's down to 1.8 seconds between the two drivers. We'll see what the lap times are this time by, as we have 4 laps to go in this race. And it's Margosian who was about 0.4 a second quicker than Benning Sr. was. Margosian with a 1 minute 33 second .401. Benning Sr. with a 1 minute 33 second .817 the last time by. So Charles Margosian hanging tough with Scott Benning Sr. right now, trying to keep him behind for the GT4 win.
Yeah, and as we get longer and longer into this race, too, we're starting to get into the phase of where tires are starting to overheat a little bit and tires are starting to slip and slide there. As we can see, Brandon Collins trying to use every inch of the track he potentially can, maybe even a little bit of part of the grass if it's possible, if that's part of the track real estate that we're offering here at the Autobahn Country Club. Yeah, I mean, you pay for it, you might as well use it all of it, and maybe even extra if you have the ability to be able to do it. So Brandon Collins just trying to do everything he can to keep his lap times down, try to be a little bit quicker here and there of Tatis. Unfortunately, the gap has gotten quite big enough to where even a little bit of margin of gap he gains, it's going to hinder him. But Tatis had a little bit of I would say, slowdown with Bob Norian, the number 89, in front of him. And Brandon Collins went a little bit quicker, too, almost 3 seconds faster than Tatis Karlinskis that last time by.
Nice aerial shot from our drone going down the back straightaway here. We have some more jockeying for position towards the back of the field. It looks like that is actually Sean trying to hang tough with Mike Heck in the 691. And behind them, it looks like that may be Tom Herb, actually, I believe, going to put a lap down on those drivers right there. As we have Brandon Collins in 999. Oh, and it looks like, is that Tadas, our race leader, is off with trouble. Tadas Karlinskis, the race leader, off the pace with some issues. Not sure what happened to him, but he has lost the lead to Brandon Collins, and he is slow off the pace. Jordan, you were talking about tires maybe heating up a little bit there. That is probably what has happened to our race leader.
Not sure what happened to Tadas Karlinskis so far. I mean, right now, looking at his car, all the tires seem to be up on his car, which means it doesn't mean he has a flat tire. But right now, he has been moving very slow off the pace, trying to let the rest of the field go by. He might even pull off to the side of the road right here and might pull it to a stop on the racetrack. If he can try to get off the track, that'd be the best. But right now, he's coming to a stop just the drivers right on the racetrack in turn number 10. Not in a very safe place. We may have to go full course yellow for this.
This race may end under a full course yellow here if Tadas is unable to get the car going. He's trying to. The car is stopped right now, and it looks like there's a local yellow in that area of the track right now. We stay full course green for the moment as Brandon comes around to complete 2 laps to go. But what a shame for the race leader. Tadas Karlinskis, so dominant. He was pacing the field, pacing Brandon Collins. And he is able to get the car going a little bit here. We'll see how far he's able to get it out of the way, out of the rest of the field here so they won't hit him. And he pulls off in the middle of the track. Can he get it off into the grass? Julia Riggin goes by. But here we see, it looks like Tadas, not sure if he's going to be able to get it going. This race may under yellow, but we stay green for the moment. What a shame for our race leader, though.
It's a good job by Tadas to try to get the car out of a safe spot, the spot he was in, more to a safer spot off the racetrack, especially on the straight line down the back straightaway. But you were mentioning it, Matt. What a shame for Tadas Karlinskis. He was about a 5 to 6 second lead over Brandon Collins with about 2 laps to go. And unfortunately, problem has happened to his car to where it's now lost all power, it seems like. He's unable to continue on, handing the lead over to Brandon Collins, and Collins has retained the lead, has now over a minute lead over Tom Herb for the overall advantage, but has now ran away with it for the GT1 category to go on to win overall.
And it looks like Brandon Collins is going to be one step closer to locking it up here overall. As Tadas still creeping along the back straightaway here. We only have 1 lap to go. It is the white flag lap as we see the cars going by him here. Britt Casey was not able to get around Tom Herb, my mistake, as it looks like Charles Vargosian going to hold off Scott Benning Sr. right now for the GT4 class victory, as Tadas is still creeping along there. I'm not sure what's going on with his car, Jordan, but he stopped. He was able to get under power a little bit, but he's going incredibly slow down the back stretch. He may just want to stay up there for the time being.
His car is probably going into limp mode here a little bit, so he's just trying as best he can to keep it rolling, keep it out of everyone's harm's way, and trying to make it back to the pit road as he possibly can, trying to avoid a flatbed tow back if he can, or even just a tow back for the most part. But Brandon Collins now navigating his way through turn 9 and 10 for the final time, can see the yellow flags that are being on display, knows that Tadas is having a problem, and will probably pass him down the straightaway here as Tadas still trying to creep and crawl all the way through. Julie Riggin going to come on by, makes it on pass Tadas, and here comes Brandon Collins for the final time. Going to put the exclamation point on today's battle as he now comes through turn 12, will pass his rival, maybe give him a little bit of a wave, and will make his way over towards turn number 13 for the final time.
Well, Tadas looks like he's going to be able to get the car back to pit lane, it seems, maybe, with how slow it is. But Brandon Collins is going to come around and take the checkered flag. He will win the GT Series Challenge race at the Autobahn Country Club today. And Tadas Karlinska's heartbreak after leading so many laps today. Here comes his car. Will he be able to get to pit lane as the field going by him here? It looks like that may be Ron Roshinsky, or no, that's actually Valdez going by right there. And they're going to complete the lap here. And it looks like Tadas may be able to get the car to pit lane. So trying to avoid the rollback, like you said, there's his car. Not sure what happened, but he had this race dominated so far today.
He had it up to about an 8-second lead at one point in time, but unfortunately that was all gone to waste and all gone down the drain once he had his issues with this car, and unfortunately wasn't able to make it happen. So we'll look at the top 5 here of all the GT class winners. As Tom Herb comes across the line, he'll take the GT2 class win to make it official for GT2 winning. Brandon Collins, as we mentioned, wins GT1. Tom Herb, GT2. Ron Roshinsky will come away with the win in GT3. Charles Margozzi in GT4. And Mike Keck will round out the winners of GT5 here today.
Well, that'll be our GT Series Challenge event as we see Tadas Karlinskas pulling off into the paddock area. He was able to avoid getting the car taken back in a rollback, but what a shame for Tadas, who had led so many laps here in this race today. We'll get to our podium award ceremony for our GT Series Challenge event, and immediately after will be our third and final heat race for Spec Miata and SM2, which will be coming up here in just a second. Our GT Series Challenge race at Autobahn is complete for the moment.
At Lexus, our motto is you have to feel it to believe it. Experience the exhilaration of the Lexus Performance line.
We're here at the acclaimed Daytona International Speedway to show the Blazer EVSS in a way it's never been seen. It's beautiful with a sleek and dynamic design, but performance is in our DNA. And what better way to put the Blazer EVSS to the paces than having Team Chevy NASCAR drivers Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain get behind the wheel.
She looks fast.
Sure does.
You want to see what she's got?
Let's go.
All right. Yoo!
This is a Blazer EVSS. Let's see what wild mode can do.
Let's go. Yes! So much torque.
This is what performance sounds like.
What a ride. You think the Cup car will be that smooth? My turn to drive.
From 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. Experience the sound of performance.
Yeah, I was definitely faster than Daniel.
Define nature. It's what defines the all-new 2024 Corvette E-Ray. The quickest Corvette ever, with 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. An electrified all-wheel drive that handles all 4 seasons. A supercar of contrasts. It's everything you never expected. One like none.
We're back here at the Audubon Country Club here getting ready for round number 3 of this heat race. Triple Crown format here for the Spec Miata series. Part of the Audubon Country Club. This is also round 9 of the Spec Miata series for the year, but race number 3 of the day. And what's going to happen is we are now having all the competitors that we had in the first 2 rounds. We are combining the points total together, and the way they line up is the point total as they have right now. So Brandon Collins, as we'll set the stage for you guys, Brandon Collins leads the way right now with 2 points as his total over Brant Alexander and Taro Kushida, who both have 6 points going into this final race. They are basically going to be racing heads up, but they have to finish 2 spots ahead of Brandon Collins, who is already on the pole, to come away with today's victory and win of today's race. A little bit further back, we'll have Mike Bernardi, who will probably start in the 4th spot in today's race. On this one, he's going to be hashing 9. He's got 9 points, and ahead of him will be Matt Keck, who has 7 points coming into this race. So a bunch of these guys right now, it's going to come down to a point total of how we end up in today's race. The top 10 starters for the race number 3 are going to be Brandon Collins on the pole, Matt Alexander in 2nd, Matt Keck will line up 3rd, Taro Kushida 4th, Mike Bernardi is going to line up on the 5th spot, Eric Halleck going to be 6th, Mike Ryan in 7th, Ethan Tyler going to line up 8th, Greg Zord 9th, and Dave Hicks will round out the top 10 for heat race number 3. We also have Art Zeismer, who will line up 11th, and rounding up the field will be Scott Ballard in the number 190 in the 12th spot. So interesting battle that we've had throughout this whole race day of the first 2 heat races. Now we're going to get ready for heat number 3 and see how it all plays out, because it's all going to come down to where you finish for your final point standing tallies. As pace car now starts the phone, we have Brandon Collins, who just jumped out of his Porsche 999 or GT3 Cup car, who is now just gotten onto the pole position here. Lines up right next to him will be Matt Alexander in that 157, and then Matt Keck in 3rd. We've now, like we said, had 2 races of 12 laps that have happened. We are now ready for race number 3 of 12 laps to take place. Kind of similar to where we're starting like we did in race number 1, where everyone is now kind of in a more realistic starting position than they're kind of used to. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here as we get ready for race number 3. Like we said before, track conditions have all changed compared to what they've been before. A bunch of rubber has been laid down. The temperatures have also increased as well, so the racing might get a little more heated up on the racetrack. So we'll see what happens as we come into this next race. Field has now started its first of 2 pace laps as they come around the Audubon Country Club South track of turn number 2 and into turn number 3. Guys, the field is now starting to warm up their tires, using a lot of gas and brake, as well as a lot of weaving back and forth to get all the marbles and their tires cleaned up, ready to go, ready for racing action, as we are up, ready to go for 12 laps. And all these beautiful shots brought to you by our drone here, flying over these guys into turn number 4, alongside them through turn number 4 and into turn number 5. Again, Brandon Collins is leading the way right now with 2 points set to the record with winning both races of the day. He needs to stay up front as long as he can in front of Matt Alexander and Taro Kushida and Matt Keck, as they have all been battling and jockeying for position on what they're going to be having as their point totals coming to the day's end. So Brandon Collins with 2 points. Matt Alexander is the next person in line, who has 6 points, along with the number 60 of Taro Kushida. They all have 6 points, as well as Matt Keck. He's got 7 points to his record. So Matt Keck, all these guys right now at least have to finish 5 spots ahead of Brandon Collins if they want to have a shot at winning today's events. But nonetheless, they're all going to be racing against each other too. So Matt Keck, he can finish 2 spots ahead of Matt Alexander, and he can come away with a 2nd place finish. Or Matt Alexander can fall all the way back, and he can find himself outside the top 3. A lot is up on the line and a lot to play for here. Or this whole thing could get shuffled out if Brandon Collins has some kind of faulty mechanical problem and he's not able to finish today's race, or he ends up falling all the way back to the 12th spot. We'll have to wait and see, but we'll find out our answer in about 12 laps times. As the field now continues to warm up their tires, weave back and forth, they head over to turn number 11 for the first of 2 pace laps. Coming across now as we get everyone ready to go, All the tires heated up. They've all know what to do here in this case and format. They've been here now twice earlier today. We're ready for race number 3 of this Triple Crown format. This is the second annual time we've been able to do this. We did it once last year on the North Track. The first time we're doing it here on the South Circuit. And it's been wonderful action we've seen throughout the course of the day so far today. Really have been a thriller between both the Spec Miata and the SM2 battles that we've seen across the board here at the Audubon Country Club. Has been giving us a very entertaining day worth of racing. And if you weren't able to watch us earlier today, we did not live stream the first race, but we are having that broadcasted and recorded, so that will be up on the Audubon Country Club's YouTube channel, which if you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe, and share that to all your friends and family so they're able to watch it. We'd love to hear you guys' viewership. Also, if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to put in the comments section and who you want to see win this race. We have a live moderator on there chatting with you guys right now as we speak, so if you want to have a conversation with him or just be giving us the race's end, please sure to like it in there and put your thoughts and comments in the comment section as we speak. As the field works its way around turn number 5, we'd like to also thank Sentinel for giving us our onboard shots here as we've been riding on board with the number 144, Brandon Collins, all day long. He's been giving us a thrill ride, starting up from the front in the first race, then having to go from the back to the front, and what happened in race number 2 of going off track a little bit, having to come from 12th on the grid all the way from the back to the front. He gave us a really good thrill ride being on board with him throughout the course of that race, and now he's going to do it again from on board, leading from the front of the pack with Matt Alexander right behind him as we get ready to go for race number 3. Field is now making their way around this backside of the Audubon Country Club in turn number 8, coming into the short chute of Patience of turn number 9 and setting up turn 10 for that long straightaway, which we should see the field get ready to go racing by doubling up, going 2 by 2 as lights are coming off on the safety car. Field is now doubled up as we see the drone is now getting into formation. Brandon Collins, Matt Alexander on the front row, Matt Keck and Taro Kashida will share up row 2. Mike Bernardi and Mike Ryan, the Mike and Mike show, will be on row number 3. Ethan Tyler, Greg Zorg, row number 4, and Art Zeismer and Dave Hicks will round out the field of 12 on row number 5 here. Unfortunately, the row of 10 here, as Scott Ballard was not unfortunately able to join us, and Art Zeismer is on the back bumper as well, there in the number 9 spot. Field now coming out of the final corner of turn number 13, 2 by 2 lockstep formation. We are ready to see the green flag. Eyes are on the starter as we are now kind of rolling up to the green. And green flag is out. We are underway in heat race number 3 for the Spec Miata Triple Crown. Good side-by-side action here as Matt Alexander going to try to roll the outside as best he can on Brandon Collins. Collins now, and Matt Alexander going to go side-by-side. Collins able to get the better jump on the inside. He gets better drive. And Matt Alexander going to slide into the second spot. Huge checkup here from Mike Ryan. Greg Zorg going to hold up the inside of Ethan Tyler. Thinking about going 3 wide into turn number 3. He's going to make it work. Gets into the side of Mike Ryan. And one car goes way off. That's Mike Bernardi heading right for the wall. And he makes contact with the right side wall on turn number 4. Mike Bernardi hits the wall hard. Right now we have full course yellow, I believe, is displayed on the track. Full course yellow is out on track right now as Mike Bernardi hit the wall on turn number 4 on driver's right. He's continuing to move right now, but he is kind of been rolling. Mike Bernardi right now having heavy damage to the driver's left-hand side car. Looks like all 4 tires seem to be up. A little bit of suspension damage, definitely some bodywork damage, but it was Greg Zork who tried to go to the inside of Mike Ryan, kind of got into the side of Mike Ryan, which then forced Mike Bernardi to have to go wide, take a little bit of evasive action, and once you get up into the grass, you lose control of all the car itself, and he just went head-on straight into the wall there on the driver's right-hand side of turn number 4. So the field now going into pace lap formation here. Single file, Brandon Collins doing a nice job slowing them down going into turn number 11 here. The field going to kind of make its way around, and they're going to go meet up with the safety car and the pace car on the front straightaway. Safety truck has now made its way over to the scene of Mike Bernardi over in turn number 4. But another lap 1 incident that's happened here in the Spec Miata series. Unfortunate to see what happened to Mike Bernardi, but heavy left front contact damage to that number 8 car of the Mike Bernardi's number 8 Spec Miata. So once again, we've had another incident that's happened here to start off today's race. Unfortunately enough for Mike Bernardi, he is going to be, I believe, out of this race early on here, as Matt Lauterbach has joined me back up in the commentary booth. Matt, thank you for coming back up here and joining me.
Did I miss more action already, Jordan?
Oh, yes, you have.
Oh, we got a big hit here. Mike Bernardi, the number 8. Such a tough break for him here. What a shame. His front end of his car is demolished on the left front of that car. Fortunately, he does have the door open and he is getting out of his car under his own power and okay, but a shame. It looks like he has lost his chance to compete for a podium spot in today's race here today. But we still got 9 cars left in the field after we had a couple of cars from last race unable to compete due to some crash damage.
Yeah, unfortunately enough, we've had to see this happen. I mean, Mike Bernardi, like we said, is just a passenger at that standpoint. Once he got into the grass, he was just trying to take evasive action of what was happening to his inside, which was Greg Zorg on the inside and then Mike Ryan kind of in the middle of all that. So Mike Bernardi just trying to do what best he can to avoid their troubles, but unfortunately caused a little bit of trouble of his own and just some misfortune that he kind of ran into. So an unfortunate start for Mike Bernardi here in this race, and he's going to have a lot of damage that he's going to have to fix up before the next race, next time out, we see the Spec Miatas.
He is going to have a lot of work to fix on. This has been a demolition derby for our Spec Miata racing today. We had Scott Ballard with issues, Emmett Ryan and Connor Ryan with issues. Connor is still out there, looks like, right now. Oh, no, he is not, actually. My mistake. So now we're down to 9 cars after Connor and Emmett both out of the race with crash damage. Emmett unable to get the car going in time with the rear suspension damage, and Connor had a lot of damage to the front bumper of his car that was basically permitting him from competing in this race today. What a shame.
Nonetheless, the rest of the field is kind of locked in single file formation here, as we're hoping maybe we can get about 2 or 3 more laps before we go back to green flag racing, but we hope to go to green flag racing here shortly and get back to racing action as fast as we possibly can. But nonetheless, we're glad to see Mike Ryan was able to get out of his car under his own power, being able to get attended to the Autobahn safety staff who were on the scene very quickly to attend to Mike Ryan, and we love to see that as well, especially when the incident happens.
Well, fortunate, though, that Mike was able to get out of the car and okay. I got to be honest, that was one of the worst crashes I've seen here so far at Autobahn when Bernardi went off wide there. It looks like, watching the replay of it, though, right now, it looks like Ethan got a little bit loose to his inside. I'm not sure if Ethan got squirrely with another car, but Mike was just trying to avoid all that, and in terms of doing that, he kind of lost track of where he was going, and the car went off into the turns 4 area and just smacked that inside guardrail very hard. Fortunately, he is okay.
Yeah, it was a very tough break for Mike Bernardi for sure, but like we said, luckily enough, he's able to be all right. He was out of the car on his own power. Good to see he was all good and everything ready to go, but the field is continuing to pace around the whole field here as we now go through turn number 3. We've seen this Lexus LC500 pace car a lot today, unfortunately. We've had to see it, but it's been a really good time and a really good promotional shout-out for Lexus themselves, as they've been getting lots of good coverage time with this LC500 white pace car now in front of the whole entire field.
Good here through the first couple corners, and then he went off and just smacked that inside guardrail very hard. That is probably the deepest I've seen any car go through the weeds here. He was carrying a lot of speed, it looked like, and just lost control of his car once he got out in the grass going at that speed.
Mike Bernardi finished 4th in race 1 and then 5th in race 2, so he had 9 points total on the day so far. So right now, he's been able to have a good day, unfortunately, before that. But none of that anymore. We're getting ready to kind of get back to racing here. Let's look at what we can be looking at for the results like we talked about earlier. We had Brandon Collins on point for today's race. He's already gone 2 for 2. He's looking for the clean sweep here today and trying to go perfect 3 for 3 on race wins to give a grand total of 3 points on the day. Looking for that. But the first people who are going to try to stop him are obviously Matt Alexander and Taro Kishida right behind him.
Yes, they are definitely look to disrupt the balance on Brandon Collins' car and see if they can get around him. And they are hungry to try and get around him. It's going to be a single file restart here to get themselves going. But it'll be interesting for sure to see how this race plays out, as we'll have 9 laps to go this time by, depending on how soon they get Mike's car out of the way there. Hopefully we'll be able to get back to green flag racing here. But again, we happened on the last race with the Ryan brothers getting together and taking each other out. It looks like 9 cars left in the field.
Matt Keck right now is also sitting in the 4th spot as well in race 2. He was also one of those front runners. He finished 2nd in race number 2. I would expect him to also be one of those guys challenging for potentially this race win as well. He showed some really good pace later on in the 2nd race here, and I think, if he's able to use that pace that he had in race number 2, he could maybe come away with a good finish here for race number 3. He had the exact same pace as Brandon Collins had once Brandon Collins got in front of him. So if he can continue that same race pace and find that groove that he was in race number 2, I wouldn't expect more than for Matt Keck to be up into the 2nd spot, potentially even challenging Brandon Collins for this race win.
He may very well be up there. He was able to get around Taro and Matt Alexander and hold him off without any problem in the 2nd heat race. But now here trying to go for the ultimate prize, which is getting around the 144 of Brandon Collins. But he's got a lot of drivers behind him who are also hungry. Greg Sorg is looking for redemption after going off wide a couple in both heat races today. Ethan Tyler is right there after getting his car going and fixed. Art Zeismer is back there. Dave Hicks is back there. Mike Ryan is also back there. You're going to have a lot of hungry drivers here behind Matt Keck in the 0-1 as well, trying to get up in a top 5 position or fight their way towards the podium. But it's going to be difficult to do with the 3 drivers up there right now, and Brandon, Matt, and Taro right now all looking very competitive.
And Greg Sorgs had himself a roller coaster of a day as well. I mean, he started up towards the front around the 5th or 6th spot, and unfortunately, when in the first race, had to go a little bit of off-track excursion over in turn number 2, went 4 wheels off, had to fall all the way back to the bottom half of the field, was basically all the way back to dead last, then came back up to finish 11th in the first race. Race number 2 was a little bit more in favor when he had Ethan Tyler, his drafting partner, all the way through that whole race, was able to go ahead and finish 8th. Now he finds Ethan Tyler right behind him, but he's sitting in the 5th spot again. So very technically, Greg Sorg has kind of worked his way from the middle part of the pack to the back, and now has slowly made himself back up to where he was, and now he's looking for more.
He definitely could get more if he is able to get himself around Matt Keck in the 0-1, but Matt has had a very strong car for this race here today, as we have a lot of incredible drone shots here following this whole field around the track here under caution, as we're hoping to get the cleanup taken care of in turns 3 and 4. All the laps so far have been run under caution. It's been 4 laps so far in this race. 9 drivers left to battle it out in our SM field as of right now. It's Brandon Collins leading, Matt Alexander 2nd, Taro Kishida 3rd, Matt Keck, who we're riding with right now, in 4th. Behind him, Greg Sorg in that multicolored number 71. Behind them is the black and white stripe number 08 of Ethan Tyler. Art Zeismer in the 15 is in 7th. Then Dave Hicks in 8th, and Mike Ryan in the 320 in 9th. So 10 cars left to duel it out here in this field as we're going to come around, it looks like, to complete 4 laps distance in this race. And we're coming up on the halfway distance here already, Jordan, as most of this race has been run under caution so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Between the half a lap of this next half lap, and we'll be able to go green next time by. As we can see, the number 8 Mike Bernardi's car, is on the back of the flatbed, heading out of the track. So we should be going lights out this time by, as we just gotten the word that we are lights out, and we'll be going green next time by as we come back across the start finish line. So Brandon Collins, once again, your leader this whole race. He's been up front now for the last 4 to 5 laps. Matt Alexander running in 2nd, and Taro Kishida, your top 3 in the championship that we've highlighted earlier today, are your top 3 in the race.
And behind them, Matt Keck in the 0-1 with a great day moving up to 4th. Greg Sorg, the 4th place point man, falling back to 5th. Right, he's in 5th right now, running right now after a bit of a rough stretch so far in the first 2 heat races, trying to put something together in this last heat race. And we got a bunch of other drivers here that normally we don't talk about. Miles Eismer, or Art Eismer actually, in the 15 up in 7th. Then we got Mike Ryan back there as well. Some other drivers back there as well. Ethan Tyler, a dark horse every week, and Dave Hicks running a very quiet race so far, but up in the top 10. He's been making himself asserting himself there towards a top 10 finishing position in today's race, Jordan.
Oh, yeah, and these guys have been kind of hanging up tough there towards the back of the pack a little bit, but have kind of marched their way back up to the front there. Art Zeismer, Dave Hicks, and Ethan Tyler as well. Ethan has kind of pushed his way back up to the front, as you mentioned in race number 2. He's working together with Greg Sorg very well. He finds himself right behind him. Hopefully those two could potentially work together, and Ethan Tyler can find his way marching more up towards the front. Art Zeismer, on the other hand, has kind of had his elbows out for most of this race. Was battling with Scott Ballard earlier in race number 1, and then in race 2 found himself further back, kind of battling with Mike Bernardi and Mike Ryan throughout the course of race number 2. So Mike Ryan also a little bit further back has had a little bit of trouble throughout the course of the day today, but I would expect him to kind of be able to make his way up towards the front as we get ready to go green here with 8 laps remaining.
Here we are, the field going single file. It'll be a single file restart here to complete 5 laps in this 12-lap shootout here at the Autobahn Country Club for our 3rd and final heat race in the SM class. Riding along with the back of the field here, Greg Sorg, Ethan Tyler in 5th and 6th, Art Zeismer in 7th, Dave Hicks 8th, and Mike Ryan rounding out the field in 9th. As the field going to make their way through to the braking zone, heading towards the front straightaway. They'll be all bunched up. As we look on board with Brandon Collins, the pace car going to pull off towards the end of the pit lane, and the sun is starting to come out a bit more here, Jordan. Clouds starting to dissipate. Let's see how the rest of the field is able to maneuver through. As Brandon Collins riding on board with him, he'll see the green flag waving in the air this time by from 33 miles an hour up to over 100. Green flag back in the air. We're racing at a car off already. Greg Sorg with problems and pulls off onto the grass. Greg Sorg's roller coaster day has came crashing down a little bit as Art Zeismer moves into 5th over Ethan Tyler right now. So shuffling going on here already, and Greg Sorg in the 71 with problems and a battle for the lead. It looks like Matt Alexander and Brandon Collins going at it here. Alexander had to look the inside, but Collins pulled ahead to the outside. They go off into turns 5, into the turn 6 area. What happened to Greg Sorg?
Something must have happened to him, but he was able to be wise enough to kind of pull out of the way right before he got trampled over by everybody else. Anyway, further back up, we got Ethan Tyler, who just made the pass to the inside of Art Zeismer through turn number 6. He is now going to try to set his focus on the top 4 in front, who are evenly spaced out between Brandon Collins, Matt Alexander, Taro Kishida, and Matt Keck.
Here we go, jockeying for position. The battle right now is from 5th to 6th between Art Zeismer and Ethan Tyler right now. Tyler, who's also had a roller coaster of a day, trying to finish it off right with a top 5 finish here as we go through the rest of the field. 8 cars now remaining in this field. Here we go as we're on board with Brandon Collins and the Sentinel onboard camera, looking back at Matt Alexander, trying to find a way around Brandon. Brandon trying to pull off the clean sweep here as Art Zeismer giving chase to Ethan Tyler. Again, a battle for 5th on back in this race.
We've just been told that Greg Sorg has been dealing with a mechanical failure in this car, so that was the reason on why he pulled off the car, off the track, I should say. Good observation from Greg to know something was up here, get out of the way of his competitors, knowing that we were going back green, and get out of the way of everybody else. So Greg Sorg doing a heads-up job, thanking everybody else for the rest of the competitors for understanding and seeing what was happening there as the racing action continues to heat up as they now just came back across the line for the first lap of racing. Brandon Collins now leads the way over Matt Alexander and Taro Kishida into turn 4.
It's the first lap of green flag racing, but we're halfway through this race as Brandon Collins ran about almost 0.3 seconds quicker that last time by than Matt Alexander. Brandon with a 1 minute 42.587. Matt with a 1 minute 42.867. Almost a full 0.3 seconds quicker as the field making their way towards the back straightaway here right now. Ethan Tyler putting some more distance between himself and Art Zeismer as Dave Hicks falls back to 8th behind the 320 of Mike Ryan. Here we go towards the back straightaway into the braking zone. Matt Alexander trying to find a way around the 144 Brandon Collins, who has won just about every race so far today he's competed in.
Yeah, he's basically pulled out the near perfect sweep here. He's trying to go for the Holy Grail this time by if he can make it happen. He is just 6 laps away from making it happen, but there's a couple of competitors right behind him, and Matt Alexander and Taro Kushida, who were going to try to put a stop to that. Matt Alexander was able to close the gap a little bit under braking there that last time by into turn 11, but now they come to turn 13 into 14. Matt Alexander continuing to hound the back bumper and the back tire tracks of Brandon Collins.
Well, Matt Alexander has to worry about a championship. It's at stake here. He came into today's race with a 29-point advantage on Brandon Collins right now. Brandon has won both races so far. Matt did finish in podium, but he finished second and third in those races. Now he's got to try and set his sights on a victory over his main rival in Brandon Collins right now, while also holding off Taro Kushida in that 60, who has been hanging out and back in third for most of the race today.
Also, we can start to see the rest of the field kind of space itself out a little bit as we go on board with Brandon Collins. You can look in the rearview mirror up at the top part of your screen there, seeing how Matt Alexander is kind of just hanging in the tire tracks, doing everything the exact same as what Brandon Collins is doing, maybe even a half a car length lower as we go in through turn number 6. But look a bit further back, you see Matt Keck there in the 4th spot. Ethan Tyler slowly closing up the gap there in the 5th spot there. Ethan Tyler trying to bring his number 08 black and white car into the mix here.
Well, the fastest lap the last time by was actually Taro Kushida in 3rd place, who's pulling up to the back of Matt Alexander. Kushida with a 1 minute 38 second .597 as these lap times are going up. Matt did run a faster lap than Brandon the last time by, but the top 5 here still pretty close together, it looks like, as Ethan Tyler is starting to gain more momentum on Matt Keck for the number 01 car right now. Here we go into the braking zone, and Brandon has the advantage. It looks like Matt slipped a little bit there. Taro pulls up just a little bit, but they're going to hang right with Brandon right now. Brandon Collins leads. He has 4 laps to go coming around this time by as he'll cross the start-finish line, as we are a 2/3 distance through this race in our final heat event for the SM class.
Both Taro Kushida and Matt Alexander are about 0.2 of a lap quicker than Brandon Collins that last time by. Taro is now starting to put the pressure on Matt Alexander. Hopefully, maybe he's trying to push him up to the back bumper of Brandon Collins to see if he can make a move and get these two jostling for position right in front of him. But we'll have to see further on. Taro Kushida is still hounding the back bumper of Matt Alexander as Ethan Tyler continues to close the gap on Matt Keck.
And the battle for third, for first through third, has evenly spaced itself away from 4th and 5th, as Ethan Tyler actually ran the quickest lap the last time by. Tyler with a 1 minute 38.345. He is all over the back bumper of Matt Keck right now, and if he gets around Keck, he could make this a very interesting battle here, as it looks like Collins gets a good run off that turn away from Alexander. Taro Kushida pulling up to the back of him right now, as Keck and Tyler go to battle for 4th overall. Now Taro with the look on the inside of Collins, but Collins pulls ahead. Oh, and Taro spins going into the turn down the back straightaway. 3rd place, Taro Kushida spins out. Looks like he was going to be a battle for 2nd down the back with Matt Alexander, but Taro Kushida slides into the grass. He's going to lose all that time, falls back to 9th overall on the track. Heartbreak for 3rd place.
That was a very interesting way on how Taro was able to spin. I think he might have gotten his right side tires just a little bit into the grass there and just lost the grip on the right rear, and it just sucked that number 60 car around. Unfortunate break for Taro, though, as he finds himself all the way in the back of the pack towards the 9th position. He's able to get it going, however, but unfortunately has lost all the ground that he tried to gain earlier. Now it just leads to a 2-horse race, and who can it be better than the top 2 in the championship of Brandon Collins and Matt Alexander, who are running nose to tail with just 3 laps to go.
Well, it's just become a battle between these two guys right now, as Brandon Collins trying to hold off Matt Alexander to pull off the perfect trifecta Holy Grail sweep in this Spec Miata field race today here, as they're going to make their way down to turns 5 and through turns 5 into turn 6. And Ethan Tyler sliding up the curve there. He hangs on to 4th right now, though, as Matt Keck. He's been quiet so far today, but he's been hanging around there as he is back into a podium spot in 3rd.
And what a great shot we are getting from our drone camera here in turn number 5, really showing how hard these guys are pushing these Spec Miata cars as they're just sliding through turn number 5, getting the rear end just yawed out as they're hanging on to the right rear corners of those cars as they're going through turn number 5, using as much apex curve as they can without losing the rear end of the car, just to kind of hang on to one another as they're pushing these cars around this 2.1 mile Autobahn track.
Well, Brandon Collins pulled a little bit ahead of Matt Alexander right now. Looks like Matt's car is really coming, or Brandon's car is really coming in for him in this part of the race, as they'll get 2 laps to go this next time by. Matt Alexander still waiting in the wings for something to happen, as more jockeying for position. Art Zeismer heading on to 5th over Mike Ryan in the 320 right now. These drivers, again, they've just been doing everything right today. They haven't been flashy, but they've just been keeping their cars clean, and they've been able to hang there in a top 10, and they're going to come out of today's race with a good finish.
And the best part is, too, is no matter where you are on track, you seem like to always have someone to race against. You know, these guys are all right now in lockstep formation in pairs of 2, it almost seems like. You got Brandon Collins and Matt Alexander running 1-2. Then you have Matt Keck and Ethan Tyler running together. Then Art Zeismer and Mike Ryan running together. Dave Hicks is kind of running a little bit by himself in the back, but he's also got Taro Kishida back there in order to be able to battle with him as well.
Well, we're going to see what happens here as the field making their way down this area of the track. Matt Keck leading Ethan Tyler right now, and then it's Art Zeismer over Mike Ryan for the moment. And here we are heading towards the back straightaway. It's Brandon leading over Matt Alexander right now. And Brandon going to try and hang on here with just a lap and a half to go in this race here. Matt Alexander closing in a little bit here, trying to see if he can find a way around Brandon Collins in that number 144 car.
That was a big slide right there by Matt Alexander there out of turn number 10. He lost a little bit of time there on the exit. Brandon Collins was able to get a good drive. Matt Alexander, a little bit of wheel spin as he was trying to hang out the rear end as much as he could, trying to get the best drive he possibly could, was struggling to hang on to their rear end. Nonetheless, they come through the braking zone of turn 11, and on their way to turn 13, they'll see the white flag this time by.
White flag going to come out in the air here for Brandon Collins, trying to pull off the trifecta here. He has just a few more corners to hold off Matt Alexander in the 157 right now. Alexander closing in the back, a little bit of brake lockup from Collins in the 144. It's not over yet between the top 2 here right now, and Alexander tries looking to the inside with a peek. He's all over the back bumper of Brandon Collins, on board with Brandon, who has a rear view mirror full of Matt Alexander in the 157. Alexander ducks to the inside, tries taking a look everywhere he can. Can't quite get around him here. He'll have a few more corners to try and size him up.
He's just trying to fill up the mirrors of Brandon Collins here, trying to get him to look in his mirrors instead of looking at the corner in front of him. It is Brandon Collins, however, still doing his normal thing of running his normal line, pulling a little bit of a distance away from Matt Alexander as they go through turn number 7.
Here we go. They're going to head down the back straightaway here. This will be the last real good shot that Matt Alexander has to try and get around the 144 of Brandon Collins here as they'll make their way down the back straightaway here. As we get the remainder of the field, it's Ethan Tyler trying to look on the inside of Matt Keck for 3rd overall. Tyler trying to go for a podium spot. Looks like Brandon pulls ahead of Matt just a little bit there, heading down the back straightaway. His car is really good down that backstretch. We got battles from 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th, and 5th and 6th. Tyler goes to the outside to try and take a look. Not quite able to do it. Now tries a crossover move on the inside. Final podium spot here at stake as the field going to come around the front straightaway here. They'll see the checkered flag. Brandon Collins, he's going to come around and he will win today's Triple Crown event for the Spec Miata class. Matt Alexander finishes 2nd, and Matt Keck with a great run finishes 3rd over the 08 of Ethan Tyler. What a race here today, Jordan. Carnage all over the track and an insane finish between a couple of great drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. We were able to see a good race in between all the competitors that were on track here today, but it comes to the end of it, of the Triple Crown event, as well as all the racing that we've happened today. We've had 7 races, 7 races on the docket today, and Brandon Collins has won more than half of them today, winning 4 races on 7 here today.
Brandon Collins has been impressive as we go through our top 10. Collins wins the race in the overall Spec Miata Triple Crown Challenge. Matt Alexander finishes 2nd. Matt Keck finishes 3rd. That's the podium. Ethan Tyler with a great run in 4th. Art Zeismer, an impressive day in 5th. Mike Ryan 6th. Dave Hicks 7th. Taro Kishida moves back up into 8th. Greg Sorg in 9th. And Mike Bernardi rounds out the top 10 in our 3rd and final heat race for our Spec Miata class. Coming up next, we have our very final race of the day. It's our heat race number 3 in our SM2 challenge. Jordan, should be an interesting one here as well, as we have about 12 more drivers going to do battle here in this third SM2 race.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of interesting characters here. I think it's definitely with the top two, especially with Matteo Azzari and Luke Satterfield, and the points are going to be interesting. But you can enter in Bob Grosselec as well, as they are going to be the top two in terms of the Triple Crown here today who are in the battle. So Matteo Azzari going to lead the field to the green. Bob Grosselec will roll off in P2. Luke Satterfield is going to roll off third. Gavin Gleitzman in fourth. Joe Mikolos will roll off in fifth. Chris DiMuzio sixth. Alan Zocher will roll off from the seventh spot. Bruce Malter will roll off from eighth. Gary Traverso in the 72 will roll off ninth, and then Noel Sachs will round out from the 10th spot on the grid.
Well, that'll be our starting field for the SM2 race here today, as the SM1 cars are pulling off the track right now into the paddock area down towards the pit lane, as the SM2 field is about to get going here in just a second. It was a thrilling finish in the second SM2 race, as Bob Grosselec was able to hold off the field behind him, holding off Matteo Azzari, Luke Satterfield, and Gavin Gleitzman. We've had a lot of great stories in this race. Gavin Gleitzman, the rookie, surviving a lot of the carnage and chaos in the SM2 racing today, and able to move into a top 4 spot, and he has a good shot of winning today's overall race if he's able to get around the drivers like Grosselec and Azzari.
Yeah, he does have a good shot of actually coming away with a race win, I guess you could say. He probably won't get crowned with the day victory unless he has something happen to the top 3. But nonetheless, coming away with a heat race win would be just as good as coming around with a day race win.
Definitely would be a very nice story to tell to all the other kart racers on the kart circuit here at Autobahn, as we take a look at our drivers on the pit lane right now. And it's going to be a thrilling way to decide the SM2 final order here or finishing order for this race today. It's basically up for grabs right now between about 4 drivers: Matteo Azzari, Bob Grosselec, Luke Satterfield, and Gavin Gleitzman, who is hanged right there in the mix. But we still got a lot of other drivers up there competing. Chris DiMuzio's had a good car today. Joe Mikolos has had an outstanding car today. Alan Zocher's car looks really good. Bruce Malter's car is up there. Again, a lot of names that you normally don't see up towards the front in SM2, Jordan, that are running lights out perfect today.
Yeah, and that's what the good purpose of what this split field is able to do. You know, when we are able to have 2 races like this, you know, it allows people to be able to have the opportunity of racing up at the front and be able to get that limelight of camera time of being up at the front, when really, you know, in the regular Spec Miata field, you're kind of more mired towards the mid-pack. Whereas here, you get to experience to have what it is having a clear track, when it's behind a pace car. You get the experience to know what it's like being out front before you go jump into the Spec Miata field and being able to race up at the front with the Spec Miata guys in the real field. So these guys right now are loving having the two split races, I should say. And Matteo Azzari is another one who loves having his car out front and seeing nothing but clear track, because that means he gets to see the checker flag first sometimes. But all these guys get to see the checker flag first if they're coming out the way of the victory in this SM2 split class.
Well, if you're going to get ready to go double file here, very nice 6 rows of 12 drivers here going to make up our field today. The remaining drivers outside of our top 10 would be Gary Traverso. Actually, it would be Scott Benning Jr. in the 43, Connor Ryan in the 119, and Emmett Ryan. Emmett Ryan unable to race today, it looks like, but Connor Ryan in the 119 able to get going. So it looks like it will be 12 drivers total. Emmett Ryan crashing on the opening lap of the second heat race and sustaining some major suspension damage to the left rear of his car. He's not able to get going, but his brother Connor is, though. So Connor going to try and carry the torch, and he's been a soldier all day. Fought through mechanical failures, fought through a damaged race car, and should be interesting to see how he does in this third and final heat event.
So as now the pace car has the field at its grips right now, we are waiting to see the pace car start to roll. And once the pace car starts to roll, we can go with 2 pace laps. So pace car now is starting to roll in the field of 12 cars. So Spec Miatas starts to roll here for the first of 2 pace laps here on this last of 12 lap heat races, I should say. Race number 3, race number 7 on the docket, race number 3 of the day for SM2 in the heat races here. And we are ready to go for one last barn burner of 12 lap racing of action here at the Autobahn.
It has been a bit of a barn burner here today. A lot of action going around, but that's made this racing all the more excellent so far today, especially in the SM2 field, as the field going, swerving around here under the pace laps, going to get themselves going in what will be our last racing event of the day. Bob Grosslack's got a great car, and he's been the only one so far that's been able to hold off Matteo Azzari, it looks like, from the last heat race, as Matteo Azzari has really had the class of the field in terms of the other cars out there. He got around Luke Satterfield and Gavin Gleitzman in about a lap after going wide in the braking zone, and here trying to make up for that lost time that he had and some of the lost points that he may have had, and hang on to an overall victory in our SM2 Triple Crown event here. So again, with the starting lineup right now, it's Matteo Azzari and Bob Grosslack. That'll be row 1. Row 2 will be Luke Satterfield and Gavin Gleitzman. Row 3 will be Joe Miklos and Chris DiMuzio. Row 4 will be Alan Zocher and Bruce Malter. Row 5, it appears, will be Gary Traverso and Noel Sachs. And row 6, it looks like, is going to be Connor Ryan and the 43 of Scott Benning Jr. So, interesting lineup here as the field going to make their way down the back straightaway. And the lights on our Lexus pace car are going to be going off for the moment. This doesn't mean they'll get the green flag, though, this time by. They'll get the green flag the next time by. And the field swerving around, getting themselves warmed up for this final race of the day, Jordan.
Yeah, so as the field is now kind of taking its time coming around for the first of 2 pace laps, they are now working their way over into turn number 11, getting ready to set to go for the first of the last race of the day for here in the Spec Miata, the SM2 Triple Crown event. We also want to take the time to thank all the safety workers here at the Audubon Country Club for what they've been able to do. Audubon is also probably one of the best racing series in terms of safety. What we do in here, our Audubon series, we make our races one of the most respectful racing series here in the country. We do our best here in our race school to teach drivers how to race each other clean, respectful, with the best amount of sportsmanship, and how to give each other room out on the racetrack as much as we possibly can to make each other the best racing club here in the country. So if you ever want a good racing club to come to, also have a good track to run on, Audubon Country Club is your place to do it. Hands down, bar none. So we're going to be having our Audubon Spec Miata podium here on the podium ceremony here in a little bit. Matt is actually on his way down there to go do the podium ceremonies here in just a few minutes. But Spec Miata racers, if you're around in the paddock, please make your way over to the podium for the podium ceremonies taking place here shortly. As the SM2 now field is kind of continuing to weave up their tires through turns number 3, heading down the short chute to turn number 4, getting ready to take action and go ready for battle here in race number 3 of the Spec Miata Triple Crown here this afternoon here at the Audubon Country Club on the South Circuit. But a little bit of a gloomy day throughout the course of the day. The sun has made its appearance a couple of times here on the track, but has brought the heat as well and on the action. It seems like every time the sun has popped up, the racing action has gotten a lot hotter on the racetrack here, and it has heated up quite a bit. So with it now getting ready to go warm up and get ready for action, it's getting a little gloomy on the track. We expect the sun to probably pop out right before we go green. But again, it's Matteo Azzari going to be on the pole with Bob Grosslack lining up alongside him in second. And then we're going to have Luke Satterfield in third and rookie Gavin Gleitzman running in fourth for today's action. Field now making their way around turn number 8, getting set to go for turn number 9 and turn number 10, which they will then double up and get ready to go for racing here at the Audubon Country Club. Right now, drivers are making their way around turn number 11. Pace car, his lights are off here as the field is now going up 2 by 2, doubling up here. Matteo Azzari going to choose the driver's right-hand side, will be the inside lane for turn number 1, as we now see the field start to pair up 2 by 2 as they fly underneath our drone down a long 1,850-foot back straightaway. Enough for you to land a plane on it if you really wanted to with that big of a runway. So it's a long enough runway to be able to make it happen. As we now have the field rolling through turn number 11. Pace car will be pulling in this time by. It starts to speed off away from the pack. Matteo Azzari and Bob Grosslack have the field in their hands. The back of the pack is now starting to catch back up to the rest of the pack. Field comes around turn number 13 and 14. They're going to be looking at the flag stand, expecting to get a green flag this time by. Field now rolls, and they're going to get the one to go signal as they are now getting a wave off this time by. back of the pack was struggling just a little bit. The front of the pack was starting to strung away, and Matteo Azzari will once again have to do one more lap around this 2.1 mile track, getting the field all bunched up and back together. Rest of the field just needed to kind of pack up in the back here as we now got one wave off. This is also the first lap of the race as well, so the first lap of the race being done under the yellow flag conditions here, which means when we get the green flag, it will be lap 2 of this event, lap 2 of the race, and we'll have 11 laps to go next time they come by. And we can see all these fancy drone shots that we're being able to see here, giving us great pictures of aerial coverage around this 2.1 mile facility. It's been obviously great, some great shots that we've been able to see. And if you haven't been able to see all the great shots you have yet, you can thank our guys over at Cutting Edge Graphics, First Bank Card Processing, for being able to allow these camera shots being able to be processed and being able to happen here on the Audubon live stream. And also thank our other partners at Signature Productions for giving us these great camera views and camera shots and being able to help us put this production together and broadcasting to bring this Audubon Member Series racing to YouTube and into your living rooms. So once again, now we have an invisible pace car in front of us, as now Matteo Azzari has now become not only our leader, but our designated pace car for this one lap, hopefully, as we are now getting set to go racing once again. Field comes around turn 11. They'll start to pack up and pair up once more. Bob Grosselec will select the left-hand side of the track right next to Matteo Azzari, and the whole rest of the back half of the field will once again start to pair up with each other. Giving a little bit of a wave out the window, wishing each other good luck as we've now have the rest of the field kind of splitting up a little bit here, as hopefully the rest of the back half of the field can back up together. The rest of the field now comes through turns number 11 and 12 through the last chicane, now into turn 13. Field now rolling side by side, 2 by 2, coming to the stripe to get the green flag for race number 3 of the Spec Miata SM2 Triple Crown Series. Green flag is out. We are underway, and the field now splits 2 and 3 wide as they come down the straightaway into turn number 1. Matteo Azzari going to take away with lead. Grosselec goes into second. Clean and green so far as Satterfield now rolls into third. Gavin Gleitzman trying to hold the outside of Satterfield into turn number 3. Give the spot to Gavin Gleitzman. He comes away with the third spot.
And as I get back from podium here, Matteo Azzari strong on the start, takes the lead. Gleitzman closed in on the back of Grosselec in that 89 per second right now, as the field going single file right now after the aborted start in this race. More jockeying towards the back. It's Connor Ryan in that banged up number 119, moving to the inside of Gary Traverso, and he'll take the 9th spot. As Traverso, under pressure from Noel Sachs, he'll fall back to 11th right now in this race.
Noel Sachs trying to turn that car into a little bit of a Baja as he's just ramping over that curb in there, giving a little bit of airtime, I'd say, in that Miata, but nonetheless, able to get the spot over Gary Traverso. However way you do it, it's best to do it and to get the spot as well you're doing it. And then Gary Traverso gets right back by Noel Sachs as they go through turn 7. Noel Sachs trying to come back by Gary Traverso as they go through turn number 8. Switching spots left and right here. Give the spots to Noel Sachs as the fight continues on through turn number 10.
Battle here towards the back of the pack. This is for the final overall spot in the top 10 as these three have separated themselves from the rest of the field. It's Connor Ryan trying to move forward, trying to look to the inside of Bruce Malter here. But right now it's Noel Sachs with the top 10 final spot in that top 10 for the moment, ahead of Gary Traverso and Scott Benning Jr. right now for the moment, as Malter holding high and taking a defensive line on Connor Ryan for that 9th spot there, as Matteo Azzari comes around to lead the opening lap. Gavin Gleitzman all over the back of Bob Grosselec for second. Gavin's got a nice hot rod so far in today's race.
Yeah, Gavin's been able to fire off really well here. We'll just have to see if he's able to hold on to this spot right now, as Matteo Azzari has grown way about a half a second lead over Bob Grosselec, who sits in second. Matteo is, I should say, Gavin Gleitzman in third, and then it's Luke Satterfield running in the 4th spot. Joe Michelos running in the 5th spot, Chris DiMuzio in 6th, and then he's got Alan Zocher right behind him in the 7th spot.
Alan Zocher has a fast car today, trying to get around some slower cars ahead of him, trying to look for an inside way around Chris DiMuzio here. Here comes Gavin Gleitzman right now, trying to look the inside of Bob Grosselec for second. with an advantage, and Matteo Azzari is setting himself away from the rest of the field. Battle going on back towards about 9th. It's Connor Ryan going to the inside of Bruce Malter with Chris DiMuzio just ahead of him as Alan Zocher has moved around him. Connor Ryan moves up into 8th, tries to set his sights on 7th of Chris DiMuzio. You got to give Ryan some credit. He's been banged up. His car's had mechanical problems all day. Here he is, still fighting in the top 10, Jordan. What a battle.
Yeah, I'd give Connor Ryan today the Trooper Award if we were to give one out. He's been through a lot today with his car, having problems. His car is spilling on him. Then he has some actual damage given to his car that's been hindering his performance a little bit. But yet his 119 Miata has been holding strong. It's been pulling through this whole entire day, and he's continuing to fight. Now battling with Chris DiMuzio, looks like, for the 7th spot.
And some more battling going on here. Ryan looking to the inside of DiMuzio. That's the battle for position as we are a quarter of a way through this final race here at the Autobahn Country Club. Now Zocher up ahead goes to the inside of Joe Miklos. That looks to be a battle for 5th, and Zocher moving back into the top 5 ahead of Joe Miklos. He's had a great car, and now Ryan goes to the inside of DiMuzio, and he'll take that spot away. Advantage Connor Ryan moving back up into the 7th position right now. He's been all over the field from the back to the front, now marching his way up towards the front again.
Back up to the front as well. We look a little bit further up. It's Matteo Azzari who has the lead. Bob Grosslick running in 2nd. Gavin Gleitzman sitting in 3rd. Gavin all over the back bumper of Bob Grosslick. Hopefully Gavin, maybe if he wants to get up towards the front, might be able to want to push Bob Grosslick. He thinks better of it. Takes a peek to the inside. Going to turn number 8. Now it comes back in line. We'll stay in lockstep formation right in the tire tracks of Bob Grosslick. Waits for another corner to think of a better opportunity to get on by him.
And Gavin Gleitzman's got to be patient here, though. Again, I said this in the last race. It is veteran versus rookie. Gavin Gleitzman has got to be patient with trying to get around Bob Grosslick in that 89 car right now. Grosslick has been able to hold him off so far today, but Gavin's clearly, it looks like he has a bit more of a faster car trying to set his sights on that silver number 89 car there. It's Gleitzman, you got to give him credit, though, Jordan. He's running a smart race, though, right now. He's just trying to hang on to a podium spot. Doesn't need to worry about winning.
Well, not only that, but he's doing a patient move, and he's actually doing a fine job of keeping his car in one piece. He's not taking any unnecessary risks to make a pass happen. He's just logging laps. He's getting the seat time. He's getting the experience. This is, after all, he looks like a veteran driver out here, and he's only been in his 3rd race right now. Technically, this would be his 3rd race, I would say. But, he's running in the tire tracks of Bob Grosslick, and he's right now challenging potentially for a podium spot here in his SM2 debut.
Well, you got to give him a lot of credit. That's quite the debut in an for a SM2 race that you can ask for anybody in their first career SM2 race right now. Gavin Gleitzman running much faster than Luke Satterfield, who came into this race 2nd in points, and a car goes off. Couldn't tell who that is. Car goes off towards the back of the pack. Not sure who that is. We'll have to take a look in just a second. That was over in the turns 2 area towards the front straightaway. I'm not sure, that may have been Scott Benning Jr. in the 43, Jordan. I couldn't tell from this distance.
Yeah, it was hard to tell from our camera viewpoint to see what car number it was, but it did look like, just based on the color scheme, of potentially being the 43 of Scott Benning Jr., as we got a side-by-side battle now between Bruce Malter and Chris DiMuzio going into turn number 8. The 427 of Bruce Malter, give him the spot as he goes to the inside into turn number 8.
DiMuzio's car looks like has sort of faded a little bit. He hasn't been able to get going. He's sort of been falling back a little bit ever since he won the pole in the SM2 second heat race. And here so far, falling back towards the bottom of the top 10 right now, as we see Malter leading him over right now. And it looks like back behind them, Gary Traverso trying to hold off the 211 of Noah Sachs. Actually gets around Sachs. Sachs was leading him at the time of this lap started, but Traverso able to get around him for position. So credit to Gary Traverso. He's been running a smart race. Very quiet so far as well in this race, too.
So we look back up front right now. Matteo is actually further back. And we're in the turn number 1. We have Connor Ryan making a pass to the inside of Joe Mikolos. Give him that spot. Mikolos going to try to come back on the inside of Connor Ryan as he opens the door up. Connor Ryan going to get the run and the momentum to carry with him through turn number 3. Connor Ryan holds on to the spot, but Mikolos trying to come back on the inside. Is he going to go side-by-side to turn number 4? He's going to go for it. Mikolos going to go side-by-side with Connor Ryan through turn number 4. Connor Ryan's going to hold on to it from the outside.
Advantage Connor Ryan. What a great job hanging on to the outside momentum there. Miklos had the inside momentum. It looks like he was going to try and take that spot back with that preferred lane, but Ryan just able to throttle and surge ahead on the outside. What a pass there as they're going for about 6th and 7th on the racetrack right now. Then back in 8th, Bruce Malter set himself away from Chris DeMuzio in 9th, and the battle for 10th right now is between Gary Traverso and Scott Benning Jr., it looks like at the moment.
Well, Connor Ryan did a great job of leaving a little bit of room, racing room, for Joe Miklos. If he wanted to stick a nose to the inside, which he tried to do, he could. And I think something happened to Joe Miklos over in turn number 10. He seems to be off the pace, and I don't know if he spun or not, but he's definitely slow over in turn number 10 there on the exit. Joe Miklos now finally able to get the car right back going, but he's lost a lot of time and a lot of spots as he now enters the back straightaway.
Heartbreak for Joe Miklos. Had such a great race going, ran so well in the first 2 heat races. He was running top 5 for most of this race, and now it looks like he may have some mechanical failures on that car. So a shame for Joe Miklos. His car pulls off after battling with Connor Ryan for the 5th overall spot. He is able to get going, though, so I'm not sure if he got off. He may have gotten loose and spun out. But the top 3 are evenly spread out between Matteo Azzari, Bob Grosselak, and Gavin Gleitzman right now. Gleitzman in that orange number 51 going by. You know, he did say that that car does pay a lot of homage to Tony Stewart's number 20 Home Depot NASCAR car. Gavin Gleitzman clearly driving that out here in the 51, trying to get something here and hang on to a podium spot over the 13 of Luke Satterfield. As Satterfield has sort of faded off a little bit there. Not sure what's going on with his car. He ran good in the 2nd heat race, but has sort of faded back in this 3rd heat race here.
He's about right now 2 seconds a lap slower compared to the top 3 who have all ran the 139 lap time by. Satterfield was right now in the 41s the last time, but I think Satterfield right now, his car is still trying to come to him. Don't know if it's going to be too little too late though, however, but the top 3 have evenly spread out. Right now, Matteo Azzari is holding a 1.1 second advantage over Bob Grosselak, but Grosselak, turning in the fastest lap last time by, is starting to reel in that gap on the number 10 on Matteo Azzari.
Yeah, Grosselak ran about 0.3 a second quicker than Azzari did with a 1 minute 39.415 compared to Azzari with a 1 minute 39.733 the last time by. So we'll see what happens here, but Grosselak is somewhat closing in on the back of Azzari. Grosselak clearly had the fastest car in the 2nd heat race, and he's trying to size up Matteo Azzari for the race lead right now and perhaps steal one away from Matteo Azzari in this field.
Yeah, as the field is now kind of separated by a little bit here. Grosselak has now cut the gap between just underneath of 2nd here. He's 9/10 back. He's now about 0.2 of a lap quicker that last time by. So Matteo Azzari starting to maybe continue to run his race, continue to look out in front of him, but he may want to start looking in his mirrors a little bit just to see that the number 89 silver car is starting to close the gap a little bit on Matteo, and he may want to start turning up the heat a little bit to try to pull that advantage back away.
Well, Grosselak's closing a little bit. They've left Gavin Gleitzman in the 51 sort of hanging in the wings there as Gleitzman is all by himself on 3rd place island for the moment as Grosselak sets his sights on Azzari. The last time by, Grosselak running faster laps than Azzari. Grosselak with a 1 minute 39.667, about almost 2 full tenths a second quicker than Azzari with a 1 minute 39.840. As we have more jockeying for position here, Joe Miklos in that 523. His car has continued to fade. He is still falling back behind the 10th and 11th place, or the 9th and 10th place cars of Gary Traverso and Scott Benning Jr. as Miklos has set back in 11th right now. Battle still heating up here for 9th between Traverso and Benning Jr. Traverso has it. Benning Jr. wants it. They're making their way down the back straightaway right now. This is the battle going on the racetrack. Hottest battle going on in the track right now, I should say.
And we have right now the battle between Gary Traverso and Scott Benning Jr. as they go down the back straightaway into turn number 11. Benning now is trying to put the pressure on Gary Traverso, but Traverso has been on a better exit. Benning better on the brake zone into turn 11, but Traverso ever to get better drive and a better exit as he pulls now and extends the gap out of turn number 12 into turn number 13 to complete another lap. We are just 4 laps to go with less to go in this race. Matteo Azzari continuing to lead the way.
Matteo Azzari's leading, but he's still got a mirror full of Bob Grosselak in the silver 89, closing in on the back of him here. Here go the leaders through the turn 5 area down to turn 6, heading towards the back straightaway. They're evenly spaced out, though. Gavin Gleitzman is still hanging in there in the wings, but Mateo did run about 0.2 seconds quicker the last time by than Grosslack, so Mateo's getting off the corners a bit better than Grosslack was that last time by, it seems.
Another thing I'm noticing, too, Alan Zolcher is starting to close in a little bit on the number 13 of Luke Satterfield. So something that, comes amiss with Satterfield's car to where he's not getting the pace that he really has been looking for, has been dealing with this whole entire race, and has fallen into the clutches of Alan Zolcher now. Zolcher through turn number 9 and turn number 10 has noticeably gained a little bit more down the straightaway. So I wonder if the straightaway speed is what Luke Satterfield has kind of been struggling a little bit, as the mid-corner speed seems to be as normal as can be. But Satterfield right now struggling with the pace on that number 13.
The pace on that 13 car has definitely fallen off for a lot of this third heat race. He has not been running up near as fast of laps as leaders. He was almost 2 seconds slower than our race leader, Matteo Azzari, that last time by. And he may very well lose this 4th spot to Alan Zolcher right now, depending on what happens, as Azzari is continuing to lay down some fast lap times with a 1 minute 39.188, about almost 2 full tenths a second quicker than Grosslack with a 1 minute 39.385 that last time by, as Gavin Gleisman waiting in the wings in that number 51 car right now, hoping that something happens to our 2 leaders. But we'll see the battle. Zolcher gets off a little bit in the grass there. Not sure if his car was, maybe got his car a bit wide over the curves just a little bit there, but he is still hanging tough with the 13 of Luke Satterfield, as Satterfield tries to hang on to a 4th spot and a top 5 points position in this Triple Crown event.
Yeah, as we're getting closer and closer towards the end of this race, Zolcher is going to have to put the laps he needs to together if he wants to make anything happen. He was almost a second lap faster, just 9/10 of a lap faster than Luke Satterfield this last time by, but the gap between him and Satterfield is roughly around 1 second. So he needs to put another lap together like he did the last time by in order to have a shot to be on the back bumper with just coming to 2 laps to go this time by. Satterfield continuing to drive the wheels off that thing as hard as he can, but Zolcher is trying to come back, and he's closed the gap now as they go through turns 8, 9, and 10 as they head to the back straightaway. Zolcher could be on the back bumper of Satterfield going into 11.
As we see the rest of our field going down the back straightaway here, Bruce Malter putting some more distance between himself and Chris DiMuzio right now, and then back behind in the battle for 9, still heating up between Gary Traverso and Scott Benning Jr. Behind them, Joe Miklos, who's got his car going, but Noel Sachs not too far behind. That is for overall on the field right now, as the field snaking their way down this back straightaway here. The hottest battle right now is 9th and 10th, Gary Traverso and Scott Benning Jr. going at it here. This is for the last 2 positions in the top 10. They both have some solid days. They're well ahead of 11th and 12th, and they're trying to finish it off very, very nicely. They still got 2 laps to go in this race as Matteo Azzari and Bob Grosslack continue to go to battle. Last time it was Grosslack who ran 0.3 a second quicker than Azzari did, but we still got some more jockeying here between Traverso and Benning Jr., who, again, have kept their cars clean for a lot of today, Jordan. They haven't gone into any accidents. They've just snaked their way through trouble. They look clean right now, and it's what's kept them in a top 10 position as the battle for the lead is still going on here between Matteo Azzari and Bob Grosslack for the moment.
Yeah, it's still about a second gap between Bob Grosslack and Matteo Azzari, so the battle is still continuing on and raging on, but time is running out. Bob Grosslack is going to need to make something happen. He's going to need a killer lap here on Matteo Azzari if he wants to make any potential opportunity or chance at a potential chance for a win here or any move. Meanwhile, further back, Zolcher is still decided to close the gap on Luke Satterfield as well as we are coming around turns 11 and 12. Matteo Azzari on his way to turn 13, going to see the white flag this time by.
One more lap for Matteo Azzari to try and hold off Bob Grosslack and win this third heat race. And not only that, but I believe he would win the overall Triple Crown event. He won the first race, he finished second in the second heat race, and now he's trying to win this third heat race over the 89 of Bob Grosslack right now. As Grosslack trying to wait in his wings, hoping that Matteo Azzari slips off in a corner, is able to get a run on him, but Matteo Azzari's car is very impressive, to say the least, so far in this race.
So even if Bob Grosslack was to get in front of Matteo Azzari here, he would still need something to happen to Matteo Azzari in order to get to come away with the points today. Right now, if we were to say the race, Matteo Azzari is 2 points ahead of Bob Grosslack as they run. If Bob was to get in front of Matteo Azzari. So right now, it's just Mateo just needs to do whatever he can to keep his car on the black stuff on the pavement and bring it home safely to come away with today's race win.
And a battle going on here. Noel Sachs looking to the inside of Joe Miklos. And Miklos' car, Jordan, has been off so far. He got off in the corner. Very difficult. He got brake lock up there. His car has been sliding back. It's a shame he had a top 5 run going on today, and I'm not sure if his car has been going good as we see the leaders making their way down the back straightaway here. Mateo with about, gotta say, a 15 car length lead over Bob Grosslack right now for the overall lead in this race. And he's just going to have to negotiate the braking zone and a couple more corners, and he will see the checkered flag waving in the air for this final heat race and our final race of the day.
Final time coming through turn number 13. Mateo Azari will take the field. Will come around turn number 13 and 14. Will come around the final corner. See the checker flag. Twin checkers are out. Mateo Azari wins heat race number 3 and wins today's Triple Crown event for SM2.
Bob Grosslack going to come home second. Gavin Gleitzman gets his first race podium. He will finish third. And Luke Satterfield going to hold off Alan Zoker for fourth. So Satterfield's car fading, able to hold off Zoker for the fourth spot. It's Connor Ryan who manages to survive a very tumultuous race, finishing sixth. And we'll see the remainder of the field coming around here for the final positions right now. And it looks like Bruce Malter will finish 7th, Chris DiMuzio in 8th. This is a battle for 9th here between Gary Traverso and Scott Benning Jr. as we see DiMuzio going across, and Traverso able to hang on over Benning Jr. for the 9th spot. And coming back around to finish the field in 11th, it looks like Noel Sachs will finish ahead of Joe Miklos. So our top 10 today in this final heat race, Mateo Azari winning over Bob Grosslack, Gavin Gleitzman finishing 3rd, Luke Satterfield 4th, Alan Zoker in 5th, Connor Ryan 6th, Bruce Malter in 7th, Chris DiMuzio 8th, Gary Traverso 9th, and Scott Benning Jr. rounding out the top 10. And if you're keeping points, if you're keeping track of the points in our Triple Crown event, it's Mateo Azari who wins the Triple Crown event overall today. It is the 89 of Bob Grosslack, who finishes 2nd overall, and the 13 of Luke Satterfield, finishing 3rd overall. And Gavin Gleitzman, give a tip of the hat to that young man, finishing 4th overall in today's Triple Crown event. What an impressive debut for the 16-year-old from the junior kart class circuit at the Autobahn Country Club, Jordan.
Definitely a good performance for him, especially on debut, to have 3 races underneath his belt now, but 1 total in terms of the whole day. He comes away with a 4th place finish overall, so a really good points day for him and a really good start to his career here at the Autobahn Country Club in Spec Miata racing on the big track.
We're definitely going to see a lot more great things from Gavin Gleitzman, and one day a lot of the other Autobahn go-kart racers competing on our kart track. And a thrilling day of racing here at the Autobahn Country Club for our Triple Crown event. It's Mateo Azari who wins overall in our SM2 Triple Crown race. That is the racing for today. Once again, this was Matt Lauterbach in the broadcast booth, Jordan Missick as well. We'll get to our podium awards here in just a second as we go out here on the drone shot from our field at the Autobahn Country Club again. Jordan, what do you think of today's Triple Crown racing?
Lots of good racing that we got to see from everybody else, but a very exciting day of racing here at the Autobahn Country Club on the South Track. Be sure to be able to like, share, and subscribe to all your viewers, friends, family back at home, and be able to have the subscribe and notification button so that way you can catch up on the next live event here at the Autobahn Country Club. As we say, bye for now from the Autobahn.
We definitely goodbye for now. We'll be back in September for our next full car track circuit racing here at the Autobahn Country Club. Once again, Jordan Missick alongside in the booth with Matt Lauterbach here. Hope you enjoyed today's race, and we will see you next time.